Hope you're having a great day. I know it's a little early, and the smoke is going to be hot, hazy, hot, not humid, but it's still going to be a challenging day. And just listening to my voice right now, it seems like I was out there smoking a pack of Marlboros or whatever. But I'm just sitting here laughing because I don't know if anybody heard this, and I don't think I can play it. I'll have to listen to it during the break. But I was watching one of these shows because I was explaining to somebody that I actually, live the life like you. I watch the shows, and I think it was Tea Party Bob and I were talking about it. He was in town, and it was great to see him yesterday at our secret Panera location in Nampa. There are so many Panera Bread locations in Nampa, Idaho, not the one next to the Chick-fil-A, but the other 75. And we were just talking about the lifestyle and how he was talking about watching the shows. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of what would I do. I still would watch the shows. I watched the shows as a kid. And so the president is in Las Vegas. And of course, nobody clips these things anymore. President Trump says Abdul al-Sayed, or Syed, I like Saeed, but Syed, is full of blank for putting forward socialist policy. So in other words, he uses the yes word. And you think to yourself, well, to quote the great President Reagan, there he goes again, but he is President Trump. And people can go back and forth on this. People can say what they want. Surely when you watch the White House Correspondents' Dinner and he cracked a lot of bad jokes, I get it. But it was just... I go back to what Patriot Ray said to me years and years ago, and he said it on the now defunct Saturday show. And he said, I just want a president that speaks the same language. And there you have it. He does speak the language. He does speak the language of the people. Pretty wild when you think about it. And then I was looking at a couple of other things, and again, because politics has just become entertainment. And I'm not talking about our political figures, but a lot of these people, when they go on the shows, it's very performative. And then you have Chuck Todd, who used to be on, what is it? What is it? He used to be on Meet the Press. And now he calls President Trump Trumpy, which you think about it and you go, So even though we're a few weeks out, a few months out from the midterms, it's very hot politically, and of course, it's very hot in Idaho. Let's take a look at some of our top stories trending across the area. By the way, you can check this story out at our website. West Valley Humane Society asks the public not to abandon animals after puppies were left in the lobby. That's right. Apparently, what happened, and yes, I am a board member of that great group, but what happened was somebody came in with a literal bucket full of puppies. You could see it on the story on our website. And they just dropped them off. And they said, okay, can you give us some identification? Can you tell us who you are? They got mad and left. And now, it's not like they were calling the FBI on people. It's not like they were looking to get anybody in trouble or to hold people liable for it. Basically, it's part of the regulations. Because let's say, somebody said, well, those are my puppy, that puppy, this puppy. All of a sudden, there could be litigation. There always is when people say, oh, you gave away my pet. It's a very, very emotional. I think it's almost sometimes when it goes bad, the equivalent of family court, because you have to deal with the public, and it's, is there anything more emotional than pets? Maybe kids, depending on what your perspective is, what your preference is. Another story. This is a tough one. This is a challenging story for me. How many of you remember Wednesday's Child? Remember Dee Sarton used to do Wednesday's Child all the time? And Wednesday's Child was where Dee would get someone from the child looking to be adopted. And then she would, do a profile of the child, and it led to so many adoptions. And sadly, and this is what happens, and this is why, most of us don't like change. Sadly, when you had Dee Sarton leaving, nobody really took over the Wednesday's Child program at Channel 7. That's a decision by Channel 7. But they had done so much of an iconic contribution to that program. And I will tell you, I thought somehow we could do something like that, but I never got around to it. If you know me, either on or off the air, I have a million ideas. Execution isn't one of them. But I'm sad to announce that the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare will end the contract for Idaho's Wednesday's Child Recruitment Program on September 30th with internal state teams taking over recruitment and services for foster children starting October 1st. The program, which has operated for over 25 years, is being reorganized to modernize recruitment practices and address safety concerns related to public profiles. The program's website will stop accepting inquiries for youth on August 24th, and families are encouraged to complete inquiries before the end of the month. The state aims to innovate practices for child-specific recruitment while ensuring timely placement for children who cannot return home, with internal teams set to provide recruitment services from October 1st. Well, again, when people talk about TikTok, and I'm not on TikTok, when people talk about all these other things, entertainment, regardless, maybe you're the greatest YouTuber ever. I mean, one of the most, and people are doing it again, the Ice Bucket Challenge. But you take a look at what videos can do, and a lot of them are self-serving. A lot of them generate money, but the ability, like the Ice Bucket Challenge, to motivate people to raise awareness for ALS. And then you take a look at what good broadcasters do. And again, we talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. And, I will tell you, and when I first saw, and I'm sure other stations across the country did that, when I first saw that Seven's Child thing, I go, man. And Dee Sarton, who now is doing a YouTube channel, very, very like the dean of everything television here, and retired several years ago and living a good life with her family. And it was always great to run into her at the Albertsons in Meridian, right there on Cherry Lane, because everybody would come up and they'd want to talk to Dee, and Dee does a great job. But I think she'll always be remembered for Wednesday's Child. And then, again, you have Maggie O'Mara that is, with Seven's Heroes and, a remarkable program. And again, people get known through that. But to do that and not to say, well, you only get 3 seconds for a kid, it was wonderful. I hope that the changes in the program, eliminating Wednesday's Child after 25 years, and it would have been nice if you would have had somebody else pick that up. If Channel 7 couldn't, wouldn't, shouldn't, didn't want to do it anymore, then you have somebody else pick it up. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And there are very few personalities. And then if you're going to do Wednesday's Child and you're going to go Kevin Miller, are we still or? Yeah, we're still or. Are gas prices still high? Yeah, they're still high. Is it still smoky? Yes. But so we're back to Wednesday's Child for a moment. But you take a look at, it would have to be done in a certain specific way. And what made it so great was Dee would actually go out and, they would go horseback riding or, meet the baseball team or whatever. Sometimes they would go on the, Hawks field, obviously Boise State, obviously this, that. It was really a remarkable program. So that will be ending at the end of the month. Let's see, other good news. It is back to school. School starts at West Ada August 12th. For others, the week after. Fred Meyer Stores, Salvation Army are partnering now for the August school donation drive. Boy, school donations are up, and they should be. I mean, prices are up. I'm sitting there. I used to hate seeing the back to school thing, and this year it didn't seem like it was overly early, but school seems to be overly early this year. It gets earlier and earlier each year. And I'm sitting there looking at like a cost of a notebook was like $5. Well, Kevin, where are you shopping? At the Ritz? No, I'm not shopping at the Ritz. I think it was Fred Meyer or Albertsons. And it wasn't like the five subject. It was just one of those things. So props to the Salvation Army and Fred Meyer for putting that together. Always wonderful when we see great nonprofits, great regional or local partners doing their very best. So we have the president saying the S word, all sorts of things going on here this morning. I'm trying to think of if there's anything statewide going on. Let's take a look at some of our statewide headlines. But again, please be very careful with your pets. Obviously, we don't want to lose any pets. Concerning the hot weather, please keep them at home. If they're outside, put them in. Keep them hydrated. Let's just get through the last brutal weeks of summer. It would be great if we don't have any stories of any tragedies or any problems or anything of that nature, right? So again, if you're going to drop things off, be prepared to give some ID. And please don't do that, in the middle of the night, drop off pets. That they have cameras there and everything else. And by the way, it's not like, you're a bad person. You're actually doing the right thing to help these animals. So again, here we have some other things. This is interesting, though. I don't think Clay and Buck will talk about it, but it seems like everything is turning into men and boys versus women. I think they were doing their Nashville Balls thing again. The high school, the Idaho High School Activities Association voted to update its policies on transgendered students in girls' sports, aligning with the state's Fairness in Women's Sports Act. The change brings the association policy in line with Idaho law. Why would it not be in line with Idaho law? Oh, well, it's going through the courts and everything else. Take that. It went to the Supreme Court, and the state won. The change brings the association policy in line with the state. In other words, requiring athletic teams to be designated, and maybe designed based on biological sex. The update aims to ensure compliance with state requirements regarding transgendered student participation, with disputes over a student's sex to be resolved through a health examination. Remember those physicals? They always make the joke about the cough. Anyway, the Idaho State Board of Education will establish rules for schools to follow in resolving sex disputes. Wow. So there we have this issue on making sure that the high school association, the High School Activities Association, which sometimes you hear their PSAs on radio stations, that they're going to be in line with state law. So I guess that's the big news. Okay, let's go to some of the more cringy things. Have you heard about Representative Max Miller? Max Miller, if you haven't seen the Jake Tapper back and forth, he's accused of doing bad things to his now ex-wife, Emily Moreno, who is the daughter of Senator Bernie Moreno. Oh, it's an Ohio thing, right? So he's a congressman. We talked about that just outside of the Cleveland-Akron area in a place called Worcester, or in Massachusetts they would go Worcester. I know, Worcester, Ohio. So he was a Trump guy, worked in Trump 1. Had some issues with one of the ladies there, had an issue with his ex-wife, had an issue, I guess, in high school. And I was watching the Jake Tapper interview. And it was interesting because everybody has come down on this guy. And I'm one of those people that, look, if it looks bad, it's bad. But I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm going to myself, he hasn't been convicted of any crimes. And I know there's a big Mother Jones piece on him. I know there's all these other things going on. But his point is, if I was guilty of anything, wouldn't I be arrested? Anyway, so he was on with Finnerty last night on Newsmax. And let's hear what happens.
We've had personal, private conversations about mental health history. And in his own words, he told me that I could leave his daughter if I wanted to, and he offered her $5 million to go away. And these are private conversations that we've had together, and unfortunately, him and I were very close. But the only thing that ripped us apart, sadly...
Bernie Moreno offered his own daughter $5 million to leave you?
No. Bernie Moreno offered his daughter $5 million to leave him and the family.
Explain that.
Several years ago, Emily was such a problem for the family that Bernie Moreno, as Emily has told me, as well as her siblings, that in an argument, Miss Moreno dislocated Mr. Moreno's finger in an argument and offered her $5 million to leave the family forever. And I want to make something abundantly clear, Rob. I'm a father to a daughter.
Do you have any proof of that, Congressman?
Besides me being there as a witness within the family when we had good times, yeah, I was there, and I can affirm that to be true.
Yeah, it's so funny because Finnerty doing his very best to stay out of court. By the way, that guy has some of the best facial expressions ever, and it drives me crazy because he's, maybe 25, 30? Anyway, a very quirky guy, Finnerty, in a good way. I don't want to go as far as a young Bill O'Reilly, but this Finnerty guy. So he's talking to this Congressman Max Miller that everybody says should get out. And he goes, oh, yeah, well, hey, man, they offered her $5 million to vamoose. And then Finnerty, very cognizant of lawsuits and senators and powerful people, asking for proof. The reason why he did that, obviously, is to, protect himself. However, the issue with Finnerty there is the guy said it, in first person that he actually witnessed it. So you think you have problems. But this Max Miller guy, does he have a point that he hasn't been arrested for any of these crimes? I'm not saying that he's a perfect person, but, is there a presumption of innocence? Now, again, this story plays to just about everybody because everybody has challenging domestic situations in their lives. Everybody knows somebody or is a part of somebody or this, that, and the other, unfortunately. And we've talked about it on this program. We've done town halls about children being abused, men being abused, women being abused. I can remember when we had Sheriff Donahue on 580 KIDO. Now, what's that, Sweet William? I haven't said that 75 times. Thank you. Anyway, I can remember when we had him on and, at the time, no one disclosed that sometimes women beat men and the men don't disclose it for obvious reasons, which is really pretty wild. And so here we have this situation with Max Miller. Very, it's a domestic situation. Are all the women lying? If he's guilty, why hasn't he been arrested? More on that in a minute. Let's see. What do the color pink and the number 5 have in common? What's that, Kevin Miller? What's with this, you and your goofy questions? At Team Oz in the pre-owned superstore, they both save you money. Let's start with pink tags. Those are the tags you'll see on specially priced used cars over the lot, and a lot of them are dependable, low-mileage vehicles priced under $20,000. For example, there's a 2025 Kia Soul for just $18,000, a really nice Nissan Rogue for $19,900, and even a 2-year-old Mitsubishi Mirage for only $14,000. But the best part of the pink tag specials change almost every day, so you've got to walk the lot and see what's new. Now let's talk about the number 5. At Team, it's called 5-It. Buy with just $5 down and make no payments for 5 months. 5-It! Boy, you got to be careful with that one. At Team, it's called 5-It. That's a great option if you need a newer vehicle now, but would rather hold on to your cash until later this year. Maybe till after the war is over. I don't know. And don't forget, Team gives you 130% of book value for your trade with a minimum $2,000 trade allowance, no matter what conditions it's in. So look for the pink tags and 5-It. Boy, it's a little early for that. Visit Team Oz in the pre-owned superstore on the boulevard or get pre-approved today at goteamcredit.com. That is goteamcredit.com. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. So back to this Max Miller thing. Can we play that one more time?
Yeah, he knew and that I knew we've had personal private conversations about mental health history. And in his own words, he told me that I could leave his daughter if I wanted to, and he offered her $5 million to go away. And these are private conversations that we've had together, and unfortunately, him and I were very close. But the only thing that ripped us apart, sadly...
Bernie Moreno offered his own daughter $5 million to leave you?
No. Bernie Moreno offered his daughter $5 million to leave him and the family.
Explain that.
Several years ago, Emily was such a problem for the family that Bernie Moreno, as Emily has told me, as well as her siblings, that in an argument, Miss Moreno dislocated Mr. Moreno's finger in an argument and offered her $5 million to leave the family forever. And I want to make something abundantly clear, Rob. I'm a father to a daughter.
Do you have any proof of that, Congressman?
Besides me being there as a witness within the family when we had good times, yeah, I was there, and I can affirm that to be true.
Yeah. Yeah, how about that one? More coming up next. Kevin Miller, good morning. 580 KIDO.
Of private property ownership. But it also, I think, tells us that that particular set of ideas is very popular in places you wouldn't expect, because outside he's this guy who holds himself out as a working class hero, as a guy who's going to fight for the working class. How does he fight for the working class? By flooding his state and his country with low-wage immigrants. Of course, those people will drive down the wages of the working class. And he also doesn't want to do anything to protect the Michigan auto industry. He has fought against the Trump tariffs that have saved the Michigan auto industry.
There we have it. J.D. Vance on with our own Laura Ingram, not Angle, Ingram. The Ingram Angle on 580 KIDO Fox News. We continue on. There we have J.D. Vance talking about one of the great dangers, possibly to the Democratic Party and perhaps to our own party, is Saeed. I like Saeed, but it's Saeed, where he's talking about against the tariffs, flooding people in. I mean, we've played the Democratic Socialist thing again and again and again. They want to get rid of Thanksgiving. They want to get rid. I mean, talk about liberal loons. It's just really crazy, just insane when you think about it. The president blasting him as well, and you have people that are actually voting for this. And they're buying into it. Now, why are they buying into it? Well, I can tell you why. They're buying into it because these people are charismatic, like a lot of leaders are charismatic. And basically, they're following the president's playbook. Basically, the rhetoric that he used in 2024, it's being used against him now. And, you know, are there enough people in the stock market that are winning, but that could change in a moment, to carry the Republicans in the midterms, because affordability is an issue?
I think this is the worst case scenario for the Democrats. I mean, even Chuck Schumer couldn't get his arms around whether or not he would endorse him if he actually got the nomination. So it's a party divided in its best case scenario, but they haven't figured out who they are and what they believe in. They don't have a leader nationally. The fundraising has been anemic, down to almost zero nationally. And you have people like James Carville and others that are saying, hey, I can't support and get behind this. And that to have it be so close, it wasn't dominated in one direction or another. That is the worst case scenario for the Democrats.
It is. That's our own Jason Chaffetz, of course, still living in the Utah area, former Utah congressman, but you catch him all the time on every Fox News outlet. So there we have the stories that people are talking about politically right now. Yes, we're still at war. Yes, the Iranians still want to make a deal. Yes, the president is committed to peace, but wants to make sure the world is safe. So that's the latest going on in Iran. It would be nice if we had something else, but well, we're all dealing with this. It seems like the entire country is dealing with extreme heat. You're going to love this. What do you think? Do you think Americans care about heat? Can you poll people on heat? Believe it or not. Believe it or not. A recent poll conducted by AP and the NORC Center for Public Affairs research reveals that Americans are feeling a personal impact from extreme heat. Do you think? I heard Lars Larson the other day, and somebody was giving him a compliment. Some guy calling him from Alabama. I don't even know if he's on in Alabama. He's on here at 4 at 580 KIDO. And this has been happening to me quite a bit. I didn't feel so bad about it after hearing Lars, where he was talking, but the air was so smoky and so dry. There went the voice for a moment. Now, please don't tell Lars that I was bagging on him. I'm a big Lars Larson fan. Lars is great. Very proud of Lars when we think about his show. But even the smoke can affect his voice. And by the way, if and when we ever bring Big Lars to town, or if you ever see Lars in public and he's doing his show, Unlike, I'm quiet as a mouse, Kevin Miller, the mouse of the house. Lars is loud. You'll always know when Lars is doing a show. It's the Lars show. Anyway, so the survey shows that extreme heat has affected travel plans. I guess it's so hot sometimes in Phoenix people can't fly because the planes can't get the lift. That's pretty scary. Electricity bills, yes. Sleep, outdoor activities, and more for U.S. adults, particularly in the West and Midwest. Yeah. Now, the Midwest is really tough because not only do they have the heat, but they have the humidity. I don't really miss the humidity, and I don't travel east of the Great River that much anymore, but I have no humidity resistance anymore. And my hair is, it starts curling when it's humid, which is very odd. Anyway, the increased heat has led to higher electricity bills. Yes. And get this, vacation plans have been impacted and outdoor activities. Do you think? Well, especially here, nobody wants to go out in the smoke. We had one of our associates, Ugo Productions. And Ugo Productions says, well, yes, Kevin Miller, I went and I ran Table Rock and no one was up there. Well, of course, it's smoky. Poor Ugo. Despite the personal impact of extreme heat, belief in climate change has seen a slight decline, with about 2/3 of Americans acknowledging its existence. It's funny, this would be a great video for the Boise mayor to actually make instead of going Joe Biden or, doing her social media influencer campaign. It would actually make sense because she's a climate change person. And yet people still aren't buying it, even though it is incredibly hot when you think about that. Other questions that we will answer as we were rolling here this morning. Is our great state, the gem state, Idaho, still the model for conservative governance? As we take a look at issues like crime, economic uncertainty, energy policy, and technology reshaping the state. As we talked about before, you have your ag people, and now you have your tech people. Boy, that would be quite the episode of The Odd Couple, the Idaho edition, or Green Acres. I'll explain next. 580 KIDO traffic. Let's get you to work safely and on time. By the way, what is George Soros' son up to? Remember, he married Uma Abedin, the aide to Hillary Clinton. According to David Hogg, big leftist guy, he told CNN that Mr. Soros is not spending a lot of money.
And I also think when we're dealing with groups like AIPAC that have $60 million to spend, like you just mentioned, the progressive movement does not have that kind of money, and they have to be more strategic in the races. We have to be more strategic in the races that we're involved in, and we do not have. Alex Soros has not given us $60 million to spend on Cori Bush, to be clear.
The largest contributor in American politics, though.
What do you mean?
If you look at the newspaper studies.
Alex Soros is not going out there and spending $60 million to support Cori Bush or Abdul al-Said. That's not happening right now.
Well, no, he's not spending it on one candidate, but across the country, he's giving us the fertilizer.
Period. It's not.
All right, let's go to Al in Ontario, that apparently he's especially spicy today. Spicy Al with Kevin Miller on 580 KIDO.
Good morning. You said if it looks bad, it is bad. That's a very superficial way of looking at things, and I think it pretty much typifies the way the crowd looks at things. They don't do their homework. They don't really have any intellectual capability to understand things. And really, when you talk about the president and you want to hear language that we use, the president is using our language. What you have to remember is this: there's no more important intellectual habit than that of discerning rapidly and surely the identity of an assertion when it is disguised under diversity of language. In other words, words can be used as tyranny, right? Look, the S word is a common word now, and pretty soon it's just going to be, everybody uses it. I mean, there's some little groups here, well, that's a bad word, whatever. He's using common language to basically exemplify something or give it a little bit more interest or whatever. But really, he's speaking to us because what is he really using? A system of logic, because that's the real language, right? Now, of course, if you look at things very superficially, you don't understand this. It's all about a system of logic, ratiocinative and inductive, and you can throw deductive in there also. But you have to understand President Trump uses logic and reason. And a lot of people say just common sense, but it's logic and reason. And unfortunately, we don't know how to use that anymore.
Wait a minute. You're starting this whole conversation after we've talked about Bernie Moreno, global warming, Max Miller, and whatever else on the president saying the S word.
Well, you just brought it up at the very beginning.
I just thought I was shocked, and I go, that's just who he is. It wasn't a criticism; it was an observation. Maybe you should be less sensitive.
I'm not sensitive. Look, man, I'm just trying to show you where you're coming from. Okay, you come from a superficial place, and that's okay, and that's why I'm calling. If you don't like it, just tell me. Okay, I'm calling you.
Wait a minute. Why are you using the takeaway close with me and again saying that I'm superficial? I don't think I'm superficial at all.
You just said it. You said if it looks bad, it is bad.
It does look bad. There are bad optics, and when you're in politics, it's bad. Do you think that Graham Plattner with his Nazi tattoo didn't look bad?
You just said if it looks bad, it is bad. Okay, what I'm saying, and I said to you, that's superficial. Now, let's get on to Chandler's call yesterday, because that's something
let's get on to Chandler's call. You can insult me, be inaccurate, but let's go back to your agenda.
I'm not being inaccurate. I am accurate, and I told the truth, and the people will listen to what I said. I'm not insulting you.
I am not superficial.
I'm just using logic and reason. I'm using logic and reason.
Okay, back to you.
Logic and reason.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm using logic and reason, ratiocinative and inductive. That's all I'm doing. Okay, now you might look at it as a...
by the way, we lost Ted yesterday. Ted texted me and said, I've had it with this guy. I'm out. He quit the show because of you.
Well, listen, and you have 10,000 more who are listening. Okay. Yeah, because look, logic and reason works. Okay. That's what President Trump does. If you want to use, you say, the people, they're just gentility with the people. It's not gentility. It's ignorance. Okay. It's ignorance. And there's no Republican and Democrat. What you have is ignorant and enlightened. Okay, that's really what it is. And unfortunately, you have yesterday, and really, I love Chandler's call yesterday. It was the best part of your show yesterday, because what he really said is a bad system will beat a good system every time. That comes from Deming, of course, TQM guy, which I don't care for, but it's a great quote. And really, that's what we have now, is we have a bad system. But who perpetuates the bad system? Those who benefit from it, right? The politicians and the deep staters. Okay, they're the ones who benefit from it. So are they going to change it? No, of course not. Okay, you have this guy, this Saeed, this Marxist guy, and the deep state, that status quo. Look, they're not going to change anything. The system itself is broken, and the people don't have the intellectual capacity to understand it and then change it. Okay, these people who you were talking about yesterday, they're online and they don't read. Yeah, they're damaged goods. Okay, they don't understand how to engage in logic and reason. Okay, this is the problem. Okay, but you don't want to address that. Okay, that's the problem. What we want to do is just engage in very superficial and confused conversation and say, this means this, and we have this compartmentalization when it all really goes to the same thing, our broken system. And that's what Chandler talked about yesterday. A bad system will beat a good person every time. And, I think it's going to be President Trump. I hate to say that, but look, the Marxists and the so-called Republicans, they're all basically talking the same thing to the same people. Because guess what? The people have been told what? The government will take care of you. It's you get your livelihood from the government. And that's what El Said is saying. We need to change this.
And hold on, let me interrupt here for a moment. And that's what we're seeing right now. Not only with Mr. Saeed, but everywhere else, it's all about, what can the government do for me, this, that, and the other. That wasn't that way in the Depression.
It wasn't that way even when I was a kid, Kevin. You're exactly right there. Thank you. Okay, that was not a superficial statement you made. That was a very good statement that you just made. Okay, in fact, I think that statement right there exemplifies President Trump, really. And you could say, well, President Trump doesn't do this or that I like. Look, President Trump has been dealt a hand. He's got to do whatever he can. I mean, he's been dealt this terrible hand of this system, okay, that is broken, okay, and the people who benefit from it are the cantillionaires. I mean, the money printing that we have, understand what that really means. We've turned our economy, our monetary system, our financial system into a rent-seeking system. And what is rent-seeking? Okay, it's basically where capital takes control and destroys labor. Okay, so labor is what creates stuff, production. Capital doesn't. Okay, so this is the problem. We don't make things anymore. We turned our country into this crazy rent-seeking thing. Okay, and printing money does nothing but turbocharge the rent-seeking and destroys labor. Okay, that's the problem, really. And it's hollowed out our working class. It's hollowed out our country. Okay, we got to be competitive. But President Trump, I mean, look at, he says things and does things that, of course, don't correspond to what I would say, you would do in a perfect system. But look, we have an extremely imperfect system. So I back him on anything he does, because at the 60, 100,000 foot level, I know one thing. President Trump is out there for America. He's out there for you and me, and he's going to do whatever he can, however he can, to make sure that we maintain our constitutional republic, even if he has to do things that don't seemingly correspond to that constitutional structure.
All right, Al, thank you for the call. Sean Hannity today at 1. This in from Liberal Steve saying Ted will not be missed. Ted, you will be missed not. I don't know why they're going after Ted. Anyway, Sean Hannity today at 1, 580 KIDO. Is involved in that. We'll tell you a little bit about that as well. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. A couple of other things on our website. Another great article, Selling Boise State. No, we're not talking about the football team, but the concerts, the monster trucks, the Savannah Bananas, what could be next? Maybe Luke Combs coming back, Garth Brooks coming back. I'm trying to think, Taylor Swift for how about a week of being a Swiftie? Wouldn't that be interesting? Taylor Swift and her husband, Travis Kelce, take over the Treasure Valley for a week. Now, that would be very, very interesting to watch. And you talk about owning an area, owning a state, owning a town. Why not? I mean, we have the Kardashians in Coeur d'Alene. We have Emma Roberts getting married in Sun Valley. We have Allie Larder living in Sun Valley. And apparently, Sun Valley is the place to be. Everybody up there, mainly retired folks, but a lot of bicycles and people just hanging out, having a good time. So anyway, one thing we are covering, Micron's AI lawsuit could shape Idaho's tech future. Remember, you have people suing Micron saying that they violated their patents. Texas-based companies we talked about earlier this week with Dave Petzo. So that's going to be going on, litigated in Ada County. We'll see how that plays out. Micron under siege when you think about it. And you're going to go, Kevin Miller, I'm not a tech guy. I don't really care. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he decided he needed a job, so he went out there and applied to be a truck driver. So apparently a lot of jobs at Micron. Micron remains one of Idaho's most important employers, and the AI-related intellectual property case combines technology, jobs, and economic development into some type of drama. Now, some would say it's a business story, but it seems more like drama when you're looking at the future economic development. And take a look at what's going on in New York. New York, they've pretty much given Micron the Heisman, and I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, but that only benefits the work in Boise. Very different ways of looking at things. In New York, run by a Democrat, Idaho, run by Republicans. Now, again, when we're taking a look at this lawsuit, which I think, and again, not a legal expert, but if you ever come close to being in trouble, like the Pac-12 and the Mountain West, they didn't want to spend money and get nothing. By the way, we'll get back to that in a minute. There usually is somebody surrenders. We're going to have a settlement. We don't see that in this case, but again, this lawsuit could have a potential on Idaho jobs. And who would have ever thought in a state run by J.R. Simplot, now his heirs, if you will, and sugar beets, that AI could be central to our economy. Because unlike Oregon, unlike Washington, unlike California, we have not had any type of, unlike Utah, which is really stealing the national spotlight, we have not had any, with the exception of our friends in Weiser, who are recovering from that devastating fire. They don't want a data center, and there hasn't been a lot of rebelling against data centers except for our friends in Weiser. But back to this, I mean, we could be the AI hub if New York can't fill the Micron shoes. We don't have a lot of regulation, so that helps business. But again, lawsuits can determine a future. There's a couple big ones in technology. Microsoft might not exist. Remember, Microsoft basically, let's just say, we'll give it a creative license, used a lot of the principles from the Macintosh operating system to come up with Windows. So Steve Jobs sued Bill Gates, and it didn't go anywhere. But if Apple had won that lawsuit, and then apparently I think the only reason why Apple got the operating system was IBM got rid of it, so they purchased it. And then IBM, I think, sued Microsoft as well. But the wonderful, brilliant, and I know there's a lot of anti-Apple people, operating system that allows dunderheads like myself to do things, that was an IBM throwaway. So again, you take a look at this lawsuit, it could have major ramifications on our economy here in Idaho. Let's roll to traffic at 580 KIDO. Let's get you to work the right way. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin, from the Pacific Steel and Recycling Studio. Traffic on the freeways. You're coming out of Candy County into Ada County. We're looking good. 10-mile off-ramp as you go eastbound, an accident working there. And don't forget Main Street between 27th and Whitewater. It is closed for construction. Save money with Perfect Plumbing, Heating, and Air and get your annual AC tune-up for $49. Call Perfect or schedule online at callperfectnow.com. I'm Dave Burnett. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Appreciate that, Dave Burnett. Stories that we are looking at, the wildfire smoke. How long will we stay under the haze? We'll talk a little bit about that. The smoke, the air quality, travel disruptions, the fires. Pretty wild when you're thinking about just how crazy this is. And, you know, is it the worst summer ever? Maybe the worst summer in the last 4 or 5 years? Possibly. And again, those people that have asthma, exercise-induced asthma, or just hard time breathing, get the air freshener or the air purifier or whatever it is, and if you can, stay inside. It's got to be tough, so tough for people working outside. We're with you every step of the way. Coming up, more of your national political news, your local news that matters, and, of course, your phone calls. Don't let Al own the show at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We want you to be a part of it. Thank you, T. Mazda, for sponsoring this portion of the program of Kevin Miller on 580 KIDO. Good morning. For the contempt of Dr. Fauci for invoking the Fifth Amendment, we have retiring Senator Gary Peters, the ranking Democratic member, doing I don't know what. They've had votes to table the Fauci contempt vote, and that failed by a vote of 5-8, something of that nature. A man who is not on the Senate Homeland Security Committee, but he is a man. He is our friend. Jeff Bonasso joins us now from Fox News Radio. Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, buddy. Good morning.
Good to have you with us. You know, you must have been reading our minds. Boy, this Ohio GOP scandal, we were playing some of the sound from it last hour. I don't think you could make this up.
Yeah, I mean, look, Democrats smell blood in the water and perhaps an opportunity to compete in conservative-leaning Ohio 7 in suburban Cleveland, where Max Miller may have some issues, may have some re-election prospect issues amid calls for him to step down over allegations of domestic abuse and even possible illegal drug use made by his ex-wife, Emily Marino, whose father, Ohio Senator Bernie Marino, recently called Miller unfit for office and calling him to step down. That marks a significant escalation after he previously remained largely silent publicly about his former son-in-law. Miller is refusing to withdraw from his re-election campaign, despite private pressure from some Republicans and reports that President Trump has privately warned his campaign might be in jeopardy over these abuse allegations that, by the way, remain unproven in court. Emily Marino has alleged multiple incidents of physical abuse, including claims that Miller threatened her with a firearm and abused her during their marriage. But Miller this week has also requested an ethics investigation into himself. To clear his name, he says that he wants to, he maintains that the accusations are false. And that he's repeatedly characterized the allegations as part of a contentious divorce and custody dispute. And that's the saddest part about this whole thing. There's a child involved.
Well, you know, in watching the Jake Tapper interview and then the Newsmax interview, it is, and maybe interesting isn't the right word for it, the congressman's defense is, if I were guilty of anything, I would have been charged. I've been investigated more than anybody else. And then on Newsmax the other night, he says that the senator apparently offered his daughter $5 million to leave the family. And he said he witnessed it, the senator doing that or saying that or what have you. I don't know where we get this story because you have, as the congressman has asserted, innocent until proven guilty, but we are looking at politics where it's all about perception, Jeff.
You know, exactly. And so a lot of it's being sensationalized. And at the heart of it, you've got a bitter divorce, apparently a terrible marriage, a bitter divorce, and now a really ugly custody battle. And anybody involved or knowing anybody involved in those types of situations know they can get ugly. And but you know, for the congressman's part, he says that in light of all the renewed interest into my family affairs, I'm going to file a paperwork for an ethics investigation into myself to clear my name from these horrific attacks on myself and my family. I have absolutely nothing to hide. He went on to say that we will be providing the committee all necessary documents needed for a detailed examination. The accusations continue to change, but my facts stay the same. I'm looking forward to my colleagues reading everything for themselves. And the thing is, Kevin, is that key Republican leaders have not called for Miller to resign. House Speaker Mike Johnson emphasizing due process, saying that Congress should allow these ethics committee investigation participants to look into this case and you know, before any disciplinary action is taken. And by the way, the House Ethics Committee can't remove a member of Congress. That would require a vote from the full House, though there's a range of possibilities for the committee to include recommending, reprimand, censure, or expulsion, or they could dismiss the matter. But an investigation is going to take months or even longer.
Well, and again, we have this thing called this election coming up. So it is, and you had the North Carolina congressman that decided not to run for re-election over charges that he was doing inappropriate things, sending texts to younger female staffers and stuff. This is tough for the Republicans because they want to maintain that majority, and obviously every seat matters.
Every seat matters. It's just, you're right. It's a slim majority, and there's not a lot to lose.
Jeff Manasso, we appreciate you as always, boy. One of the more, unfortunately, compelling stories of the year so far. This case out of Ohio.
Yeah, we'll see. And look, I mean, there's so much on the line. It's all about power, and there's an opportunity for Democrats to pick up a seat over this, and so of course they're going to want to put the pressure on. We'll see what happens. But of course, Republicans really can't afford to lose any more seats. I mean, they have a tiny bit of a cushion, but we'll see where the chips fall on Election Day in November.
Well, and then you throw in the extra seats. A lot of drama coming up, and I know you're a drama guy.
Yeah, a little bit.
My man. Jeff Manasso, we always appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Love Jeff Manasso, Fox News Radio. Remember, when you're hearing Fox News on the radio, you're listening to 580 KIDO. Over 25 years of Fox News. Before there was a Fox News, there was a KIDO Talk Radio, or as like we like to say, 580 KIDO. And like I said, I always like telling the story of how Fox News came on the radio. It was September 11th, 2001. Then, and not to get too inside, but I love giving you the stories behind the stories, if you will, more than the headlines. There was a company that was called Clear Channel, and it was the biggest, baddest, largest radio company in America. And they owned this station and a few others. They eventually changed their name to, you hear it all the time, iHeart Radio, right? Clay and Buck will say the iHeart this, the iHeart that. Whoop-de-doo. Anyway, so Clear Channel was tired of liberal, fake ABC News. Part of the reason why was they were charging too much, because remember, Paul Harvey was on. You might remember Paul Harvey was on this station. And you talk about two of the greatest radio communicators ever, Paul Harvey and Rush Limbaugh. And when a company has a product that even its competitors want, like Rush Limbaugh, they will take that product even though it's from a competing company. And that's the way it worked for ABC. They used to have their own radio group. And that's what it was with Paul Harvey, and that's what it was for Clear Channel or Premier Radio Networks with Rush Limbaugh. So the long story short goes that Clear Channel didn't want to pay any more for commercials, so they were in New York meeting with NBC. I know this because I talked to the person that was making that decision, who actually was the talent coach for Rush and Dr. Lauren Sean Hannity. His name, Gabe Hobbs, a very dear friend of mine. And all of a sudden, you have the attack on the Twin Towers. NBC, that now iHeart is partnered with, actually wanted too much money. Fox was more affordable. And then you had the Fox brand coming on KIDO Talk Radio and other brands across the country. And now one could say without a doubt that the Fox brand is the most popular brand in radio news. CBS, unfortunately, getting out of the radio business, which is stupid. And, like I said, it's so popular that our direct competitor wanted to be part of the KIDO Talk Radio family. They couldn't, so they said to Fox, please, please, please let us have Fox News. Good for you. Okay. I'm a real conservative. We're spreading the message. They want to put the Kevin Miller Show everywhere. So be it. But I can remember, and as we approached the 25 years since September 11th, I was on the air with John Mounts hosting at that time. I go back to, speaking to Gabe Hobbs and just the birth of Fox News and Fox News Radio and how it's just evolved so much like the Fox News channel, where a lot of people thought that the Fox radio brand would not go anywhere. And it's very different as you hear when we have Jeff Manasso on or Jared Halpern on or any of these other folks on. You hear the Fox News brand, and it's simply amazing. And like I said, we're always happy to speak with Jeff or Jonathan Savage or Jared Halpern. We try not to, and I know if you've listened a long time, you're going to go, well, what about Tanya J. Powers? Tanya J. Powers is great, just very popular. It's tough to get her. And if there's not a vibe with the audience, like some of the other people that we've had, your time is precious. Well, Kevin, you've wasted it talking about the news. I get it, but we're all news freaks, are we not? Do want to remind you, our friends at Beacon Plumbing, they're bringing you this portion of the program. You've heard them. Kevin, it's, they just do plumbing, right? No, they do heating, cooling, plumbing, electrical. Quit freaking. Call Beacon. Stop freaking, call Beacon. Quit freaking, call Beacon. Now that's going to be in your head for quite some time. Their number, 974-5031. That's 974-5031. 5031. Book your service like we did today. They're coming out to do some preventative work to take a look at our cooling system. Why? Because it's been a tough summer and nobody wants an Greg Ferreira or anybody else when that happens. Nobody wants an when we're talking about quality care, over 2,000 five-star Google reviews, plumbing, electrical, HVAC. Maybe it's a septic system. That can be very, very, how should I say that? A sensory overload when your septic system goes bad or overflows. HVAC, electrical, gas, plumbing. They do it all. We can't wait to stop freaking, quit freaking, and call Beacon. And we might actually have some live coverage of Beacon Plumbing as they come out to our facility here in Star today. So again, can't say enough good things about Beacon Plumbing. They go everywhere. They do everything when we're talking about heating, cooling, plumbing, electrical. And here's the deal. Do you want your service to be taken a look at now? And maybe you need some coolant. Maybe you need this. Or do you want to pay for a big repair? So again, Beacon Plumbing, 974-5031. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. Before we get back to your calls, do you want to talk about what's the latest with our negotiations with the Iranians, whatever you want to call them? Here's Trey Yanks. You see him on television. You'll hear him now on 580 KIDO.
The president spoke from Las Vegas about the Iranian regime.
I'd rather make a deal because I don't want to kill people. I do not want to kill people.
Reports do indicate that progress in talks between Iran and Oman aimed at opening the strait, led in part by Gulf allies urging the president not to strike. Amid the possibility of a return to conflict with Iran if an agreement isn't reached, President Trump posted to Truth Social about reports the United States is running out of air defense interceptors. The president said in part, the U.S. has massive amounts of munitions, especially of certain types. He goes on to say additionally, large amounts are being manufactured and shipped to the U.S. as needed.
Yeah. Is that real or fake? Lee Joe joins us now on 580 KIDO. Good morning, Lee Joe.
Good morning, sir. Our Ohio divorce, that is kind of typical of divorces, especially when it sounds like it's the woman's fault because she's gone crazy. They throw all the accusations at the wall. I've talked to a lot of guys that have gone through that kind of stuff, and something just clicks, and the woman never tells the truth again. I think that's what we got going on there. And I think the guy needs to stay in office.
What's that, the commercial Hiddle and Diddle where they always talk about the men and the divorce? I can't remember. But they were the first to actually market to men going through divorces.
Yeah, obviously that's a wise choice. Usually the man is the source. Well, sometimes. The man's the source of the money, so you market to where the money is. Can't go wrong with that. Our little Iran situation over here, I mean, we don't want to kill people. We have a nuclear stockpile. Iran wants a nuclear weapon. I think we should demonstrate to Iran why they don't want a nuclear weapon anymore. We often test fire the Trident missiles. I think we need to load one up live, pick 10 or 11 valleys somewhere in Iran within eyeshot of their population centers, and where no one will be killed, and launch one Trident missile and let them look at what a nuclear missile can do and explain to them in no uncertain terms. And like I said, not killing a soul. Oh, the environment, oh, the blah, blah, blah. The radiation from the nuclear weapons irradiates fairly quickly off the ground where above-ground tests are. Yes, I say we begin above-ground testing of nuclear missiles again in a foreign country for demonstration purposes. And then when Russia decides, oh yeah, you guys, we're coming to the defense. I think we've demonstrated that Russia has got their hands full with Ukraine. And maybe they'll do the same thing in Ukraine, start lobbing nukes into Ukraine as some sort of a defense now that Ukraine and Iran are at war as well with their recent attack in the Caspian Sea. But I'm for it. We've spent all this money for the nuclear weapons. We've spent all the money testing the delivery vehicles. And to Chandler's point here, we're not picking sides, Sunni versus Shiite. We're just saying no nuke. No nuke. That's it. And something like nukes going off in your country and you being unable to do anything. I mean, you may be completely crazy, but realizing that you have no ability to do anything about it maybe brings you a little into the rational world. It's hard to tell with that level of zealotry. And final point, our shooter in Twin, people are calling him an incel or an involuntary celibate or what have you. And we're seeing this kind of as a culture anymore, that young men can't get married. The culture, the culture of manhood's gone. Getting married and having children's gone, and it's starting to look like we've got this epidemic of suicide, which we've talked about before, and it hits about age 23, 24. When men think that they should have had things together, they start having these breakdowns and off themselves. And this guy decided, as they do, he's having his breakdown. He decided he was going to take out others with him just for spite. And this guy was raised in foster care, tried to be a normal kid, maybe. But when that mental episode happens, they don't know where to go. They do crazy things. And fortunately, we've got, people that'll defend against crazy things. But I think this guy's part of and the Boise shooter was kind of the same way, just kind of nuts. I guess all the mass shooters are nuts. And I don't know what more we have to do to kind of explain that, reach out, get help before you decide to do stupid things. Anyway, those are my thoughts, Kevin.
Lee Joe, appreciate you. Thank you for listening, sir. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO.
Reports do indicate that progress in talks between Iran and Oman aimed at opening the strait, led in part by Gulf allies urging the president not to strike. Amid the possibility of a return to conflict with Iran if an agreement isn't reached, President Trump posted to Truth Social about reports the United States is running out of air defense interceptors. The president said, in part, the U.S. has massive amounts of munitions, especially of certain types. He goes on to say, additionally, large amounts are being manufactured and shipped to the U.S. as needed.
And there we have it. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. The president saying, I don't want to kill people. God bless the president for that. God bless the president for not wanting to kill people. But they want to kill him. They want to kill us. They want to take us down. Sadly. It's not the people, but it's the people that run the people. Good morning, Kevin Miller with you, thinking once again, thank goodness that we do not live in Iran, that we don't live in that terrible theocracy. Could you imagine what it would be like to be under that rule of terror? Not having a gun, not having a weapon, not having the means to protect yourself. Over 50 years of that. 50 years of that, which is just heartbreaking. And even more heartbreaking, here we have ourselves in this war, in this conflict, in this battle. And I really don't understand. Can somebody explain to me the benefit of people saying, we're out of missiles, everybody? Well, if we're out of missiles, then should we be telling the Iranians that? By the way, the Senate Homeland Security Committee just voted by party lines to hold Dr. Fauci in contempt. There you have it. More on that in a minute, but think about what we were just discussing at 580-5436-580-KIDO. We have this story from the Washington Post saying that, we're going to do our very best to give the Iranians every motivation to prolong this war. What was it? Their inflation is at 70%. Even the Iranians admitting that their economy is in ruin. And our great, wonderful media folks are breaking the story that we're out of missiles. Is that really, really moving the needle? Now, some people are going to go, well, Kevin Miller, we should know. Enough with you and my country, right or wrong. But, we are talking about national security, and they have tried to kill the president. And, of course, all those Americans they've killed and maimed over the years. But we're giving equal time to the Iranians?
And this is exactly what El Sayed and these limousine socialists are actually selling to the American people. They're not promising you industry. They're not promising you good jobs. They're not promising self-sufficiency and a good industrial economy. What they're promising is redistribution. Again, we've seen this in Europe and in the United States. The idea that you can build real prosperity by just redistributing assets from one group to another group, that's not how you build real prosperity. You have to actually sustain the foundation of the economy. That is what the President of the United States has worked us towards for the past 18 months. It's going to continue to pay dividends.
And by the way, thank you, J.D. Vance, but here's another one. This is pretty wild. We have the guy in Michigan that is worried about when they killed the Ayatollah that he doesn't want to celebrate. You want to talk about politically correct on overload. He doesn't want to offend the backers of the Ayatollah. People in this country are backing the Ayatollah. Then they need to leave. Do they not? They need to go. We're not going anywhere. Remember, 580-KIDO, your home for Fox News on the radio. Let's get you to work safely and on time. 1 to 4 right here on 580-KIDO. Appreciate Sean and, of course, just the insight that he brings in. And I think I was telling you, had on Brian Urlacher the other day, and that's what I love about Sean. He's always very competitive. So he may not admit that he knows a lot about sports, but that was a great interview with Brian Urlacher. Love Sean Hannity. And, of course, the great 580-KIDO family, the Clay, the Buck, or as I lovingly call them, Buck and Chuck, Sean, Lars Larson, Glenn Beck. I was actually out late last night, caught Glenn Beck, and I know it's a little delayed, but he was going, we're counting votes in Wayne County, and breaking that down in real time. But we appreciate that, Glenn Beck, as well. We finally declared, hey, everybody, if you don't know it, let us be the first in Idaho to say socialism is a scam, and we should expose the real cost of free stuff. By the way, can we officially declare that socialism is a disaster? And when people talk about free, it's never free, right? It's never free. It always costs something. And with our national debt and deficit, I think we should just go back to, getting rid of the credit cards and going back to cash. Who would have ever thought? And I think the Senate actually passed, or not the Senate, but the legislature, along with the Senate, did pass a law that you can't ever get rid of cash in Idaho. Who would have ever thought that, remember those old clunky credit card machines? Oh, Kevin, you're such a boomer. I am not a boomer, but I could be. Anyway, for those of you that have thought that the digital smidgetal world that we live in, that is so convenient that you get wigged out because we're so used to click and dip and bip on Amazon, that, it's always been that way. They used to manually have to have this big machine. And sometimes they would actually have to call in the credit card to make sure that it was good, but it would go whoosh, and then they would give you a carbon receipt. Now imagine how clunky and schmunky and bunky that was. And today, well, of course, and again, cash was a lot easier. Would have ever thought we'd get rid of the penny. But people are getting rid of the penny. Anyway, I digress. Today it's a lot easier than hauling around money. But it's still money. All right, that intro has nothing to do with what just happened in Washington, D.C. Senator Paul, Dr. Senator Paul on Dr. Fauci.
Holding a witness in contempt is a serious thing, and it should be rare. But the contempt power exists for precisely this circumstance. Oversight is not a courtesy this committee extends or a favor a former official grants us. It is a constitutional obligation. And when voluntary cooperation ends, Congress must be able to compel compliance with its lawful demands. That is Congress's compulsory instrument. A subpoena is not an invitation. A subpoena with no consequence is not a subpoena. It's a suggestion. Seeking the truth is not a witch hunt. Accountability is not vengeance. Accountability is what stands between the American people and a repeat of the mistakes and the very real consequences of the past.
Why can't the Democrats be as diplomatic as Senator Paul? Why can't the Democrats understand that Dr. Fauci does need to be held accountable? Here you have Senator Blumenthal. He's mad. He gets into it. And for a lot of us, this is for entertainment purposes only, but these are real-life lawmakers. Senator Blumenthal going after Senator Paul, saying you shouldn't have removed Dr. Fauci's lawyer. By the way, remember Peter Navarro. Remember Steve Bannon. They were locked up for contempt of Congress. And, we love your opinion at 580-5436. That's 580-KIDO. Hey, man, how about this one? Is it time for Fauci to go to jail? If nothing more than contempt of Congress. Could you imagine Dr. Fauci, Ouchie Fauci, doing time in the clink? The boys in cell block B? Now, we're going to get to Senator Blumenthal and Senator Paul in a minute, but first, we go to the OG, Ronnie G, Ron Grant.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
Who joins us now? Good morning, Ron.
Good morning, Kevin. How are we doing today, buddy?
Not bad, Ron. When it comes to money and keeping it safe, are some promises too good to be true, sir?
There's all kinds of stuff out there, Kevin. You have to do your own investigative reporting. You have to get knowledge. You have to ask a lot of questions. You have to make sure that the plan is right for you and your family. And to do that, you need to do some homework. And I think that's important.
Well, Ron, you take your responsibility of helping others very seriously. And you and I have worked together for years, but I can always say, Kevin Miller, I want to make sure the plan is right for everyone. I'm not going to try to, push something on someone because I want to run into people because I'm a friendly guy. No, talking about you, Ron, not me. And I want to see people and I want to have conversations with people. I think sometimes that is lost, and that's what you bring, and you give people the education to determine whether or not a program that you offer is right for them.
Well, I do a lot of car shows. I don't want someone to come up to me at a car show and say, hey, what kind of piece of junk did you sell me here? Education is important, Kevin. Knowledge is power. I ask a lot of questions. I listen a lot. And then we create a plan that's going to fit the client's needs and wants. And that lifetime income is so important. And I have it for my money, and my clients have it for their money. But you're right. Education is important. Knowledge is power, and we want to make sure that it's right for you.
Yeah. And again, Ron, you're a little younger whipper than I am. But, we have these things and we've lived through them all. And you and I have lived through the 70s and the 80s and a little part of the 60s for both of us. But, you've had these things where, what goes up goes down. And I know we've had up, 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 and we've had down, down, down. But again, you've always got to be prepared for something that eventually will happen. We're not rooting for that, but, to make sure that you keep what you've earned, your hard-earned money, safe and protected.
Well, back in 08, 09, when the market tanked almost 50%, my clients and I got zeros. And yes, the market is up, the market is down. But my question to anybody is, why would you want to lose your money in the first place? It doesn't make sense. Why not just keep it 100% safe where you can't lose the principal, when you can't lose any gains? Because you worked hard for that money. That's your dignity money. That's the money that you work to take care of you and your family to enjoy a nice retirement, Kevin. And I don't know why anybody would want to put that at risk for any time.
And Ron, that's where you come in. How can people learn about you, get a hold of you, and have a conversation with you?
Got a great educational website I put together, 24/7, articles to read, videos to take a look at, safermoneyspecialist.com. But, let's have a phone conversation right here in the Treasure Valley about how we can give you a guaranteed income that you can't outlive. And if you have a spouse, when that spouse passes, the other spouse gets the income for the rest of their life. And then whatever's left goes to their beneficiaries. Legacy protection. So 208-660-1372.
Ron Grant, we always appreciate you.
Appreciate you, buddy. Have a wonderful day.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
All right. You heard the little click there. We're ramping up here. Let's get back to what senators talk about when they think no one is watching.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Blumenthal.
I move to postpone consideration of this resolution until the committee has an opportunity to hear from Dr. Fauci's attorney, who was forcibly removed from the hearing last week. I should point out that Dr. Fauci had a well-founded fear based on facts that he was in jeopardy of prosecution for perjury. In fact, the chairman and others on the committee have said the quiet part out loud. They've shouted it repeatedly that their objective in that proceeding was, in fact, to put Dr. Fauci behind bars. He was represented by counsel who attempted to speak at this proceeding, even during the darkest days of the McCarthy hearings. Counsel were allowed to speak. We denied that opportunity to Dr. Fauci, and we should hear from his counsel before we move on this motion so that we can hear his side of the legal argument here. And I would simply predict, Mr. Chairman, based on the long history of assertion of self-incrimination rights, that there is virtually no chance that a court would actually approve any contempt because he had a well-founded fear of self-incrimination, which entitled him to invoke the Fifth Amendment, and we should hear from his counsel. I ask for a roll call vote.
And there was a roll call vote, and guess what happened? Senator Blumenthal. Not so fast, my friend. It didn't happen. Which I suppose, you're letting the other side roll. But I don't understand this. So now here we have Blumenthal saying that he wants additional immunity for Fauci. This is crazy. By the way, I was scouring the interweb here, and this is a story that we haven't brought up, but maybe I should save it for next hour. But have you been reading stories where the ICE people, ICE Baby, they have been appearing in Napa. And I believe Channel 7 was the only one that had that Napa story. But apparently, they appeared at a construction site in Eagle, and which is pretty wild when you think about it. They were looking for people. And obviously, here we have the news people reporting, well, ICE looking at people in Eagle. And then there was a guy saying, hey, I don't need to show you my ID. I'm here legally. I've been born here. And I don't know if it's comical or what, but the media's obsession with trying to catch ICE doing bad things. So, and again, it's all in perception. It's all in how things are produced and positioned. You know, our friend Tea Party Bob, the Gem State Patriot, gemstatepatriot.com, when he's talking about, silence is consent. I would agree with you on that. Silence is consent when we're looking at these things. By the way, this portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Team Mazda. We'll tell you more about them in a minute. Let's go to Mark, the watchdog of Eagle, Idaho, on 580 KIDO. Hello, Mark.
Hello, sir. Well, you talk about the media, and it's trying to do everything to undermine ICE. Our fake news media is doing everything to undermine the safety and security of our nation. That's all your alphabet networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSN now, whatever they want to call themselves, are all doing things to undermine, again, the safety and security of America. You know, I don't understand on the hour. This is straight out of what we faced during COVID, where we found out some of our pharmaceuticals were coming from India and China. Well, on the hour, I heard the Fox News saying that we were waiting for some weapons material to come in from another country. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, this still has not changed. I remember years back when the M1 Abrams tanks were being constructed, and that when we had the Iran-Iraq war and the Gulf War over there going on, there were certain parts and things that were being made in China and overseas that were integrated into our tank systems. This also goes along with some of our fighter planes. And I'll never forget reading that about China supplying certain parts that go into our fighter jets. My God, what in the, pardon my French, hell is going on with this country?
You remember, you remember when the F-35 was new, part of the delay were the parts coming from China. I saw that story years ago, and I go, what the hell's going on?
What is going on? And it hasn't changed. Now, we must be in a suicidal mission. We already have the demon rat party trying to kill and destroy America like a cancer's political party from within. And then you have the step up from them, which are the Democrat Socialist Party of America, that really want to see America fall to the wayside so they can integrate their own version of a utopia, which has never worked out in all of history since socialism and communism has existed. But, you know, I'm looking, and this is something, Kevin, I'm Earth Space Science Net, things on military technology I used to really follow really close. You know, way back I remember reading in Popular Electronics and Popular Mechanics about the laser systems that were being developed by the Air Force to shoot down other aircraft. Well, I don't know what's taken so dang long in all these decades and all of our billions and trillions of dollars in taxpayer money that just disappears in a black hole, these black budgets that nobody seems to know that what goes into them, that goes to the intelligence community, but especially the military-industrial complex. And I'm going to talk about the eHealth system for the Army and then the Helios system for the U.S. Navy. The Air Force has, the Air Force has their own version of it, but what it is laser weapons that are being used right now to shooting down drones and aircraft and missile systems. And I'm thinking to myself, why is it taking so long for this stuff to come out? With our way of developing, and I mean, we are the greatest nation on earth for producing and developing these things. But excuse me, but ever since we started outsourcing to other countries that manufacture some of our weapon systems and weaponry, look what's happened. A big delay. And, you know, we already know the fraud in the military-industrial complex and the companies that made $20,000 toilet seats or $10,000 hammers, crap like that was found a long time ago in the Pentagon's budget. Why were we getting charged the taxpayers for ridiculous things like this that you could get in an Ace Hardware store or Home Depot? Okay, so where I'm going is, why is this not being investigated by Congress or Senate hearings on the way that the money's being spent, and why is our safety of our nation being put partly in the hands of China, one of our greatest, if not our greatest enemy? Why is this going on? Why is it still going on? Why is our pharmaceuticals being made over there in China and India like it was during COVID? And we learned that deadly lesson, didn't we, after the COVID debacle that was caused by a lab leak over in Wuhan that Fauci was tied to. I mean, there really needs to be some serious investigating truthful investigation, but I don't think we'll ever get that out of our own government, ever. I mean, Fauci's so, okay, he gets tagged for taking the fifth one too many times, and contempt of court. It seemed to me Hillary was in contempt of court, wasn't she? She took the fifth, I don't know how many times, and whatever happened to her? Did she ever go to jail? No. So let's quit playing the games out there, you political parties from either side. You're a bunch of liars. You really don't do the job that all of us here in America and here, our listeners here on Kevin Miller's KIDO Talk Radio Show want to see done. You know, you have them call in from time to time, Kevin, as you know, we're so disgusted for not seeing heads roll, and what Comey did, for instance, you know, of 8647 or something like that he wrote on the beach. You'll never see that guy go to jail. Yeah, same thing with John Brennan. That once communist, he loved communism. He was a follower of communism apparently before he changed his mind, became the head of the CIA. So, I mean, I've got the article from that. I've got 2 or 3 different sources. How did that guy ever make it in the CIA is beyond me. I mean,
well,
they
put him in there. Mark, thank you for the call. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Looking at some of our interesting articles on our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com. Don't ditch Idaho pets at the shelter. Talk to the staff. Don't just drop animals off. There was a big incident at the West Valley Humane Society where someone came in with a bucket full of adorable puppies that will be checked out, processed, and available for adoption if no one claims them. But come on, guys, let's thank you for dropping them off at the shelter, but please take care of those animals. More coming up next. Kevin Miller in the morning, 580 KIDO. You're on 580 KIDO. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks. You're a Gen Xer, right? Like me?
I am. Yes, I am.
So you were raised by boomers, and if your parents were kind of like mine, mine were very conservative. They taught me the rules, and then they let me go do my own thing at a very young age. And if I screwed up, I didn't have to worry about the cops. I had to worry about mom or dad or grandpa and grandma. Was that how it worked in your family, Kevin?
Yes.
So Ledro brought this up earlier. 70% of women in our country start divorces. 70%. You know what we call that, Kevin? Consequences. You remove dad, you remove consequences. Dad's usually the bad cop. Mom plays the good cop. Same thing with grandpa and grandma. So I'm going to answer your question. This is why the Democrats don't want to hold Fauci accountable, because they don't believe in consequences. They believe in taking care of their own. They don't understand this principle that if you don't teach your children and your grandchildren consequences for their actions, then everything goes to pot. They're a bunch of narcissists that think, hey, if you take care of me, I'll take care of you. It doesn't matter what you do. You got my back, I scratch your back, bro. That's how they think. They don't believe in God. A lot of them. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't. So they're like, I don't have a father in heaven to reply, to be any consequences to. Hey, Fauci, sad little man. I'm not scared of you, you sad little man. I'm going to see you in a court with our Father in heaven. And Brian from Nampa, the elite clicker, is going to be sitting there pointing his finger at you because I got COVID 4, 5, 6 times. And I had to work at a place that made me get this shot. And it affected my health and my family's health. Kevin, if I invented some miraculous assault weapons that injured millions of people and killed millions more, what do you think the government would do to me?
Exactly. I would agree with you.
Yeah. So, stop worrying about Rand Paul and his little, whatever the Democrats call it. Fauci better go to jail because there's millions of us out here that are pissed at him that want a little payback. And that's the government's job. Your job is to hold people accountable. And one of the reasons I believe in God is because when the government screws up and doesn't do their job, God's going to do it. So you ain't going to get away with anything. You hearing me out there, everybody? You're going to answer for every little thing sooner or later. And the later you wait, the higher the price. So how long do you want to wait and how big a price you want to pay? And I'll just remind everybody that this country was formed by people that were ruthless and mean and cruel. And we established the law because we expected our government to hold people accountable. And if you don't, that's when chaos ensues, and none of us want that. It's a good thing I believe in Jesus Christ, and I can repent and forgive. But there's still consequences for actions. You don't get off free. Oh, there, I ranted, Kevin. Sorry about that. I had to get it out of my system because this has affected me so much. And I'm sick of all these losers that didn't have a dad that hold them accountable that are going to have to learn it the hard way one day. Oh,
well, what do you make of Fauci though? Could you imagine? And I agree with you. He needs to go in the pen. Think about that for a minute. How in the world would that be a blow to his ego?
I can't wait till Fauci gets in a cell with a guy like me, 6'3", 240 pounds, that has killed a lot of people. And he just looks at him with that arrogant little narcissistic look that Fauci has. That's going to be a lesson. They're probably going to give him some kind of special treatment because they'll know he's such a high risk that he's going to have to be isolated from the general public. Because if they put him out in the general public, all the guys that, I protected a lot of you from for all these years would do horrible things to him. Because Fauci's affected millions. And one of these days, the Democrats are going to get that hard lesson that some of us learned working in a prison or out on the street, Gen Xers, when we had to deal with predators. The problem is, Kevin, we've done such a good job as a society of keeping people safe and locking up predators that we have a bunch of arrogant little narcissists running around thinking that nothing ever bad is going to happen to you. May I just remind everybody what I said a few days ago. God doesn't tell you to fear men and all these predators. He tells you to fear him. So, Fauci, I hope for your sake you get justice now because your soul is in jeopardy by your Father in heaven if you don't. And it's about time the American people remember that. That's what we were founded on. Love you, Kevin. Love the show.
Love you, Brian. Appreciate that. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Treasure Valley Subaru. We'll tell you about them in a minute. But first,
obviously, I went through your list. You want the Green New Deal. Would you like to abolish prisons and abolish the police?
Well, what's interesting about that statement is long before there was any notion of policing, we had founders that did not even understand that term. Policing is something that's evolved over time. Ultimately, what we want is to have communities that are safe. And 99% of what police do are not going after the bad guys. All of that can be done in different ways.
So you support
professionals who are trained to do
police,
so.
Okay, I'm talking about police that arrest bad people, that commit crimes and commit robberies and rape, the child molesters, the drug dealers, those people, the people that have guns that
Were there people
protect
who did
the
that
innocent.
before the term police existed, though? Let's talk about this in the appropriate context.
You want to go by the definition. Everyone watching this show knows.
there we have it, the one, the only Sean Hannity. Catch him today at 1. He's talking to Chris Rabb, who is running unopposed as a Democratic socialist in Pennsylvania. I suppose another good reason why we moved out of Pennsylvania. I believe he's in the Philly burbs, as they like to say, but just very, very odd and strange when you're looking at, here you have a guy defending getting rid of the police. So, dear true believer, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, if you don't have the police, if you don't have the deputies, if you don't have law, what do you have? I mean, really, what do you have? I'd like to know. How about this one? Want a big truck without the big truck price? Big truck price, big truck price. All about enunciation, folks. Then spend a little time or a few minutes at TreasureValleyTrucks.com. That's TreasureValleyTrucks.com. The used truck center at Treasure Valley Subaru, where you'll find like-new trucks for half the price of brand-new trucks. Maybe you need a Super Duty for the job site. Yeah. Or to pull a big RV or a heavy trailer up the hills, right? The problem is a brand-new heavy-duty truck can easily cost $80,000 to $100,000. I ran into a guy, he bought a new Tundra. I think it was like $110,000. $110,000. Do you know that the median home income in the median home price in Ada County in 2009, 2010 was $140,000. Canyon County was $70,000. And trucks today, I mean, what's the most expensive truck? Could you pay $150,000 on a new truck? And then once it leaves the facility, of course, it drops down in value. Not at Treasure Valley Trucks. That's a lot of money for a truck that's going to, be put to work. How about this? Check out the inventory at TreasureValleyTrucks.com. You'll find big trucks from Ford, Ram, Chevy, and GMC priced at tens of thousands less than new. And it's a half-ton truck you're looking for. All you need, they've got plenty of Ford F-150s, Ram 1500s, Toyota Tacomas, and every other everyday pickups. Treasure Valley Trucks is a lot easier to find. Just pull into Treasure Valley Subaru, and you'll see a dedicated truck section with rows and rows of pickups ready to compare side by side. Before you buy a truck anywhere else, check out Treasure Valley Trucks. You might save yourself a truckload of money. That's right, a truckload of money. I know I'm having fun with these spots today. They're fun spots to read. Treasure Valley Subaru, the Idaho Center Pre-Owned Superstore, Treasure Valley Trucks, TVT, everybody, and the Treasure Valley Service Center. Say hello to Ben, Juan, Brandon, the guys, and a guy named Kevin. That's right, Treasure Valley Service Center. All together at the Idaho Center Auto Mall and online at TreasureValleySubaru.com. That's TreasureValleySubaru.com. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. We go now to Dylan. Ba-da-da-da-da, on 580 KIDO.
Man, I love Johnny Carson. I love Johnny and Ed McMahon. I love that. Thanks, Kevin. The breaths. But Brian, yeah, the Gen Xers were raised by the boomers, the Kevins, but it wasn't wonderful for everybody. But it's what made our generation, the Gen X, realize that life is just tough. There's no preparedness for toughness. As Gen Xers, you are, and boomers getting smacked upside the head real time. Discipline was harsh in many ways. There's the joke of where if you were caught smoking cigarettes as a teen, your dad or your grandpa sat you in the garage and made you smoke an entire pack, which would probably get you jailed today. And then you have the latchkey kids. You have kids in the new age of the corporate workforce driving both mom and dad to work all day, every day, and just leaving kids at home all day, every day. You touched the fire. You crashed the plane. You crashed the car. You did the stuff. And it taught life was tough. Life is tough, but the boomers vicariously created the millennials because the Gen Xers were like, well, I couldn't imagine treating my kid that way. And now we've got kids that are scared to go to a public bathroom at 15 years old. And I don't know. It's a weird world. I moved out at 15 years old. My wife moved out at 15 years old. Your average person at my age was out and on their own at 18 and couldn't wait to get out. Now it's like you're a parent till you're 25 and not lucky to get them out of the house. It's not about luck. It's just I don't know. We're a little soft. We gotta harden up and prepare people for what life really is. It's savage.
You sound kind of like a millennial version of Al here.
Yes. Well, I did work in corporate America from 2008 till 2017, and you end up having to convert your mental space for that millennial. I've said it before, but it blew me away. I've always believed it's simple. Be on time. Be on time. If you're going to work, be on time. And Wells Fargo used to have a policy where if you were late 3 times in a row, you were out. You're done. 3 strikes, you're out. Well, they changed the entire policy for the millennial. They're like, and then you go through all the millennial training we had to get. It was like being trained what Islam is or something like that.
Millennial training? What do you mean by that?
We went to training to understand the needs of the millennial generation and that their values weren't like ours. And we're like, look, man, I've been getting to work on time for 25 years. Why are we changing? Well, they weren't going to be able to keep them. The millennials are essentially, I think what you see is the creation of the Democratic Socialists of America. Their cultural values are just, why do I have to work every day? Why can't we have free health care? Why this isn't fair. I don't know. It's there's some bleed across all of it generationally. But I want to say this. I've been thinking about Doug. Where's Doug from Mountain Home? I hope you're listening, Doug. I hope you're okay. I don't know what it is. For the past week or so, I've been hoping to hear Doug out there, and it's just made me just wondering if Doug's all good out there. And I hope you are, Doug. They're one of my favorites. So, anyways, just wondering about good old Doug from Mountain Home.
Well, Doug comes in with the way of the wind, and hopefully we'll hear from Doug.
Yeah, hopefully so. But, you I don't know. I guess I'll be your millennial punching bag for you, so you can all take it out on me. It'll be my fault, that's for sure.
Well, it's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a millennial. The Gen Z people hate you. They really hate you.
Dude, I'll tell you what, Kevin, if you want to hook anybody outside of the millennial generation, just do what you do for me, and gosh dang it.
You're about as millennial as I am a boomer, so there you have it.
I'm the biggest fish out there for that one. You had me hooked every single time, my friend. So, but boomer, I don't know. That is an insult to some. I don't think I'd take it at one. I appreciate the values of the greatest generation myself. So,
we give the boomers a hard time, but they're pretty good. I mean, compared to, everybody else, I've always given the boomers a hard time, but the boomers, unlike you and your people, the millennials, they love this show. I still love it when I have my millennial brother and my millennial coworker say, "You and your boomer friends." I'm like, huh? It's interesting.
Well, you seem to be the Pied Piper of the boomer, Kevin, which is in many ways the greatest opportunity. Never going to let it go to save Idaho ever. The utter largest voting bloc in this state, and God bless every one of them.
It used to be. The largest age cohort now is the millennials. However, age
cohort versus people that actually get out and vote.
Yeah. Well, and look, you have to take a look at the millennials, and they don't have the life experience as the boomers, right? They don't. I mean, the boomers have paid mortgages, have put kids in college and grandkids. They've had a hell of a ride.
Well, some people lose their way. It was like the creation of the yuppie, right? Like, you have the hippies in the 60s and free peace, love, and happiness, and then all of a sudden...
Dude, I heard that you were a yuppie and you drove around in your Volkswagen Rabbit all decked out.
Are you talking to people? I did.
That's what I heard, man. I heard you, and you had a very masculine horn that went beep, beep.
Yeah, and I tricked it out, got some ground effects, did some glass packs. I was ripping it up.
That's what I heard.
Wow, you hear a lot, my friend. You've got some big ears.
But a small throat. Thank you, Dylan, the Great Idaho Show, greatidahoshow.com. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, there we have it. Much more coming up as we try to make our way the right way. How about this one? Here's the headline. ICE raids construction site in Eagle and Emmett, according to an attorney. I'll give you the details next. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, just more and more concerning these ICE raids. And are they news, and does this serve the public? More on that in a minute. But once again, Sean Hannity, today at 1.
List. You want the Green New Deal. Would you like to abolish prisons and abolish the police?
Well, what's interesting about that statement is long before there was any notion of policing, we had founders that did not even understand that term. Policing is something that's evolved over time. Ultimately, what we want is to have communities that are safe. And 99% of what police do are not going after the bad guys. All of that can be done in different ways.
So you support
professionals who are trained to do
police. Okay, I'm talking about police that arrest bad people, that commit crimes and commit robberies and rape, the child molesters, the drug dealers, those people, the people that have guns that
Were there people
protect
who did
the
that
innocent.
before the term police existed, though? Let's talk about this in the appropriate context.
You want to go by the definition. Everyone watching this show knows.
There you have it. Sean Hannity talking to Chris Rabe, who will be a member of Congress from the state of Pennsylvania. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Thank you all for joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning. Do want to thank our friends at Treasure Valley Subaru for sponsoring this portion of the program. So they say it with a straight face. they say it with a straight face: defund the police, get rid of the Senate, get rid of the presidency, get rid of the Supreme Court, get rid of everything. And nobody likes it when somebody younger comes around. And younger sometimes can mean better, or it can be worse. But you have a lot of these young democratic socialists that are, in fact, very happy with what happened. Sons and daughters of Bernie. And, Bernie Sanders, the beloved goofy socialist, is now having to defend people that say they want to defund Israel. You have this guy, Hassan Piker, who apparently is this big star of streaming, urging people to kill Senator Rick Scott. Is that the expression, or is that a crime? Pretty wild when you think about it, how dangerous the world is becoming. But don't worry, be happy. Bernie says it's all good. What up, Bern?
Well, look, people have different views, and what you know as well as I do, that the right wing, that's their job, right? They will take what one person said and put, $80 billion of TV ads on it and make it claim every Democrat supports that. No serious person that I know who is running for office believes in, quote unquote, defunding the police.
Yeah. Pretty wild when you think about it. Huh. This is pretty wild. Bernie going, well, I don't know. I'm no serious person, I believe. Yeah, they are serious. They love you, Bernie.
Well, look, people have different views, and what you know as well as I do, that the right wing, that's their job, right? They will take what one person said and put, $80 billion of TV ads on it and make it claim every Democrat supports that. No serious person that I know who is running for office believes in, quote unquote, defunding the police.
Yeah, no serious person. No serious person. They are serious, Bernie. When they say they're going to roll, they're going to eliminate things, they're not kidding. They've taken out, this has to be, do we have time for this here? Do we have time, folks? Don't tell anybody. We'll actually give some analysis. Here's the skinny on this. When arguably were the Democrats the most successful? I would go back to Clinton. And you go, well, Kevin Miller, Clinton was so bad in 94. We won the House. We destroyed the Death Star. I don't know if there's a Harry Potter equivalent. Hogwarts ran wild. Move on. Clinton figured out, I can't be a liberal, wacky, zany Clinton. I have to be, I can't be a Republican. I can't be a Democrat. I have to triangulate. I'll use both sides against them, and I'll be the middleman. And Clinton had a very successful run, President Clinton at the end. You go to Obama, wild, zany Obama that brought in the Tea Party. Obama course-corrected. And Obama arguably now seems very moderate compared to the zanes that we have today, but he came across as a normal guy, not the guy that hung out with Bill Ayers, the Weather Underground, not the guy that hung out with Jeremiah Wright. He was normal. He was cool. He was relatable. He was cool. He was hip. And people got that. Today, Barack Obama wouldn't talk about blowing up the police. Now, again, his civil rights department at the DOJ was something that a lot of folks had a problem with, including myself. It didn't do a lot, in my opinion, for race relations. Regardless of that, that is when these politicians are the most successful. And so we moved to 2016. Bernie Sanders runs, and hey, these people like Bernie. We have to take him out. And what do? they take him out. Super delegates, super duper duper trooper delegates. Okay, Bernie goes, all right, I'll be ready for you. And what does he do? He comes back again in 2020. Bernie's got my money. He does well in Iowa, does well in New Hampshire. He does so well in the state of New Hampshire and the state of Iowa that all the Democrats get together and go, dude, we got to take him out, bring in Biden. He's a goof, but he'll be a useful idiot. The state of South Carolina has never accounted for anything outside of the Republican politics. Jim Clyburn, a friend of Biden, they get it together. Biden wins South Carolina. And lo and behold, right before Super Tuesday, Peter Buttigieg bails, Amy Klobuchar bails, and people coalesce around Biden. It's the end of Bernie. Good. Let's get that wacko out of here. Well, Bernie didn't die. Bernie didn't go away. You could argue he's one of the most iconic and influential political figures in the last 20 years because you had AOC, the Squad, Daughters of the Burn, now Sons of the Burn with Al Sayed or whatever his name is, Mandami. All these people that many traditional Americans would say, man, reminds me of the bar scene in the first Star Wars, the real Star Wars. But all these people from all these different backgrounds, hey, state-run schools, hey. By the way, I love Sean Hannity the other day. You have to have an ID to go into the state-run stores, not schools. I mean, come on, dude. But you don't need an ID to vote? How stupid is that? Regardless. But this is where Bernie Sanders has become, one could say, the most influential politician in the last 20 years outside of Donald John Trump. One is a president. One could argue if the Democrats weren't so corrupt, he would have been president.
Well, look, people have different views, and what you know as well as I do, that the right wing, that's their job, right? They will take what one person said and put, $80 billion of TV ads on it and make it claim every Democrat supports that. No serious person that I know who is running for office believes in, quote-unquote, defunding the police.
580-5436-580 KIDO. You're stupid for listening for believing what they say. More on that in a minute. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Let's get you to work. But let's go back to ICE in Idaho. Oh, my goodness. Another content idea for KIDOTalkRadio.com. The last time I did that one, it was a pretty big hit because it's an underserved market. So I just did a Google search, ICE Idaho. I love this one. You're frozen out. Boise, this famous ice cream brand's only Idaho shop is just closed. Not that type of ice. Let me just share with you some headlines here at 580-5436-580 KIDO. And think about this. ICE raids construction sites in Eagle and Emmett. Attorney reports multiple detentions. ICE asks Idaho not to release criminal illegal alien charged with kidnapping and sexually assaulting a teenager. And, of course, we have the other ICE stories, the alleged raid in Nampa, and people are wondering what the heck is going on and all sorts of things. Teton Valley, Idaho, deputies assist ICE operations. ICE arrests 6 undocumented immigrants at Nampa construction site, DHS confirms. And it goes on and on and on. More on that in a minute. We go to Concern, who joins us now from Emmett at 580 KIDO. Good morning, Concern.
Good morning, Kevin. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the millennials and the Gen Zs and what's going on. Everything that they have learned in school nowadays, it's against the United States. If they're studying about World War I, they're talking about how the United States used mustard gas and did all the things wrong. They never talk about the positive side. If it's World War II, we locked up the Japanese and everything else. And it's like, Vietnam, we it was all for nothing. And a lot of it's got truth to it, but just how the devil works. You take a little bit of truth and you bring that up. You keep on raising the negatives and never the positives. So these kids have been taught, in the United States to that United States is bad. They haven't been taught anything good. They haven't talked about, Revolutionary War, the Civil War. What was that about? Well, that was about, slavery and putting down the black man, and everything they do is just negative. That's what the schools are teaching. So these generations, they don't care for the United States. They've been taught it's been nothing but bad. And where the Democrats are raising up and the Republicans are losing is the Democrats, like Bernie Sanders stuff, they're always offering something to these younger kids. For Bernie, it was like, well, we're going to make marijuana free, and we're going to have free. Everything's going to be free, but we have the right to pursue happiness in this country, but they've been taught that you have the right to be happy, and over again. So that the Democrats will do this over and over again, free, but no one in the Republicans stands up and actually, explains their policies and what they're doing. So the kids these days, they will say, hey, they're going to pay off their student loans. Hey, that's great. So you got that whole entire couple generations ahead that expect, a freebie handout. What do the Republicans offer right now? Well, they offer hard work and pursue happiness, but that's not what they've been taught. They've been taught you're owed by the country. If you're this, you're owed. If you're whatever, you're owed. If you come across the border, you're owed. Everybody's owed something, and we haven't been teaching them that hard work gets this, and this is where it's come from. So unless the Republicans start offering something free, the people, the generations that are out there voting, are just going to keep on going, well, I'll sell everything to get my student loan paid off. I'll sell everything if I'm going to get free health care. I'll sell everything if, so they're selling out the United States in the Constitution and everything because they've been taught and learned through the school systems and education that the United States is bad, and they are, and some of it's true. But the only thing is they never teach the other side. So Republicans better start standing up and saying, how are you going to do this, these people that are voting? How are you going to provide all this and explain that? But that's not being done. So, the Republicans... Well,
that's the thing. How are they going to pay for that? Yeah. And I don't think people really want the facts, though. I think they just want to, get them, guys, yeah.
Exactly, and they're a huge base right now that are voting, and the older generations are tending to sleep on these deals, and they don't see what's going on. So, you got to, just like kids, you got to give them candy, and they'll come your way. And that's what the Democrats are constantly doing, giving them some kind of candy. We'll pay for this, we'll pay for that. You won't have to worry, free this, free that. And so when it goes back to what they've been learned, socialism's good, capitalism's bad. The United States has done so many bad things, and that's all they learned. So we're kind of in a jam right now. So, but it's got to start with education. And these Republicans, they want to win. They better start getting out there and debating the reality of this and start challenging these guys. And I hope they do that when it comes up to them debates and stuff like that. They start showing it. But thank you for sure, Kevin, and God bless it as always.
God bless you, concern. Thank you very much for the call and for listening. Appreciate that. Well, I mean, you're making a lot of promises. Coming up, we'll break down Mondami and the promises ICE in Idaho and saving Social Security. Why don't we do this since Concern just broke that down for us? Let's go to, from our friends at Fox Business, free child care projected to cost $9.3 versus Mondami saying $6.8 or $6 billion. Free buses. Let's break this down here. And anytime you could hear Stuart Varney on 580 KIDO, it's a good day. Why? Well, because he's old like us.
New York City's Mayor Zoran Mandami campaigned on the promise of making more things free. But free costs money, and it's money the city doesn't have. Brian Yennis joins me. How much will Mandami's free city plan cost taxpayers?
Stu, good morning. Well, Democratic Socialist Mayor Zoran Mamdani campaigned on an agenda he said would cost
about $10 billion a year. Turns out it's likely going to be more than that. Start with free universal child care. The Center for New York City Affairs estimates the cost at up to $9.3 billion a year, 55% more than Mamdani said. Most of that pays for his promise of teacher-level salaries for child care workers. Then there's free and fast buses. Mamdani said that would take $800 million a year. The city's independent budget office says $1.1 billion. That plan is now on hold. Mamdani said he would raise $10 billion a year, mostly through new taxes on corporations and millionaires. So far, he's projected to raise about $1 billion a year from a new pied-à-terre tax and aid. Here's the problem. Only the state can levy new taxes, and Governor Kathy Hochul has said no. She gave the city $1.2 billion over 2 years for child care. Beyond that, neither of them can say how to pay for it all.
Is it possible to fund QK going forward without increasing taxes on the wealthy?
I think the most important thing is that we fund programs like this.
I am committed through the program next year. I can't commit future budgets at this time.
Making matters worse, Mamdani's own budget office projects a $7 billion deficit next year.
The city does not have $10 billion laying around to spend, and this is recurring, so you're not talking about a one-time expenditure. You're talking about spending that we want to be doing every single year.
The nonpartisan Citizens Budget Commission, Stu, says the city has to make cuts, given the fact New York City residents already pay the highest taxes in the country. Stuart?
Oh, yes, they do. Brian, thank you.
I love that guy's voice. Brian, thank you. Stuart, back to you. So just like what Concern said, Mamdani and others, they're making a lot of promises that fiscally they can't keep. So you have to have somebody like in that report that, breaks this down and says, hey, there is no money tree. I wish there was a money tree, but there isn't. Not for the folks in New York City, not for anyone really in America, unless you have NVIDIA or Micron stock, I guess. Hey, want a big truck? We told you about this earlier. How about a big truck without a big truck price? Treasure Valley Trucks, TreasureValleyTrucks.com, one word, is the used truck center at Treasure Valley Subaru, where you'll find like new trucks for half the price of brand new trucks. Maybe you need a Super Duty for the job site or to pull a big RV or a heavy trailer. The problem is a brand new heavy duty truck can easily cost you six figures. Now, if you have six figures, do you want to spend that on a truck or maybe something else? Remember, that's a lot of money for a truck that's going to get put to work. Instead, how about this? Check out the inventory at TreasureValleyTrucks.com. You'll find big trucks from Ford, Ram, Chevy, and GMC priced tens of thousands of dollars less than new. And if a half-ton truck is all you need, they've got plenty of Ford F-150s, Ram 1500s, Toyota Tacomas, and other everyday pickups. The Treasure Valley Truck Lot, where is it? It's easy to find. Just pull into Treasure Valley Subaru and you'll see a dedicated truck section with rows of pickups ready to compare side by side. Before you buy a truck anywhere else, check out TreasureValleyTrucks.com. That's TreasureValleyTrucks.com. You might say, and you will say, you're going to save yourself, get ready for the pun, a truckload of money. Now remember this. Treasure Valley Subaru, the Idaho Center Pre-Owned Superstore, Treasure Valley Trucks, and the Treasure Valley Service Center. All together at the Idaho Center Auto Mall and online at TreasureValleySubaru.com. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. That's Treasure Valley Subaru. Coming up next, we're going to save Social Security and a local update. Senator Crapo is involved. We'll give you the details next. Kevin Miller, 580. Mamdani's child care. But what about Social Security? We're all going to need this. Let's take a listen. Our friend James Rosen. Well, that's file isn't firing. My goodness gracious. Oh, my. Let's go to Eric in Cuna with Kevin Miller at 580 KIDO.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, that Mamdani.
Good morning, Eric.
Good morning. Yeah, that Mamdani, I don't know. I don't understand how people can can buy into this. You know, I mean, these people that support socialism and communism, they don't realize that what they're saying is let government control everything. No free enterprise. The government will control the food. The government will control everything. And we'll give you this little job and you'll make this much money. And don't worry about buying a house. You can rent forever. That's what they're all about. It's ridiculous. And as far as Dr. Fauci and these stupid endless hearings, how many hearings have we seen Congress pull together for people, you know, people in government, everything else, you know? It seems like these people always get a pass. Dr. Fauci should have been arrested under criminal charges. But no, he gets to go and answer a few questions and sit there with that indignant smirk on his face and plead the fifth, and nothing happens. Nothing. What's going to happen? Is anything really going to happen? Because how many of these committee hearings have we seen for congressmen and everything else, you know, and people like Bill Gates, and, you know, they get these hearings and they answer a few questions, and we all know they're guilty. We all know they should be in prison. The evidence is everywhere. But what happens? Nothing. It's ridiculous. Dr. Fauci should be sitting in a jail cell right now waiting for his court date, not out free with the indignant smirk on his face. It's absolutely, the whole thing is ridiculous. And as far as that stupid vaccine goes, isn't it strange that people that got the vaccine got COVID multiple times? I mean, so when that came around back in 2019, in December, I got COVID. I realized it was COVID after it came out because I got this weird cold. I was short of breath. I felt weird. I was all off. And I was like, man, this is kind of a weird cold. And then, like, when was it? January, February of 2020. So it was already going around. And natural immunity is best. I never got COVID again after that. Never. And I was right up close with people that had it, that called me up, family members, and said, oh, I tested positive for COVID. I never even had a COVID test. I don't even trust the test. I don't trust anything about it. And Dr. Fauci and all those involved, including all of his subordinates, Bill Gates, the pharmaceutical industry, they're all involved. And don't you find it kind of strange that the left, I don't know, in the last, 10, 15 years, they took a dramatic turn for being pro-pharmaceutical. You know, the left used to be all about, you know, natural and let's hug a tree and we don't need pharmaceuticals, and now the left is pro-pharmaceutical, pro-Dr. Fauci. It's kind of weird.
Well, I love how everybody is, oh, we can't embarrass Dr. Fauci. He's a good Fauci.
Oh, my gosh. Where do these people come from? I mean, Dr. Fauci just about took down our country with his scam. And then you got these people, poor Dr. Fauci, poor baby. That's the problem with society right now. There's too many people standing up for, you know, oh, don't hurt, don't get his feelings are hurt, even though he's guilty. You know, that's the problem with society. The poor baby, let's stand up for liars and crybabies and people that don't take accountability. Oh, we got to feel sorry for them. Give me a break. That's part of the problem. You know, these kids, these people that have grown up to adults, I don't think they ever got their butt whipped when they were a child. I don't think they ever faced any real accountability as a child. And now they grow up, and now we got what we got. We got unaccountable brats that want to bring communism and socialism and stuff like that because they're jealous. Because they, you know, that's what communism and socialism is. I mean, look at Karl Marx. He never had a job. He just sat around on his butt and complained about rich people. It's like, you know, if you want to be rich and you want to be successful in America, go out and work for it. The government is not going to dole it out to you. Well, let's hope it doesn't. I mean, we're kind of headed that way with Mondami being elected. The guy's a moron. Anyway,
Eric gets the last word.
You're the best, brother.
Love you, Eric. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Good morning. All sorts of things. Look, when we have the showstopper on, Jared Halpern joining us from the White House from Fox News Radio, we try to get to him as quickly as possible. Jared, good morning.
Good morning. That's very kind.
Well, it's very true because you're the content guy, so here we are, and I love the era of the second term of the Trump administration. What's he up to today?
What's he up to today? Kind of a quieter day, we'll see, so far after that kind of whirlwind West Coast trip. I was struck by a couple of things President Trump said yesterday in Las Vegas, spoke yesterday towards the evening, kind of a campaign-style rally. I think we're going to see more and more of these trips by the president between now and November with an economic focus. But notably, President Trump complaining at times that he's not getting the credit that he deserves for prices coming down, for the economy. He decried these polls as fake polls that show that voters are not satisfied with his handling of the economy, saying that this is the best economy the country has ever had. More people are working than have ever worked in the history of the country. And, you know, I think that that's going to be a challenge, right? If voters don't believe that, then turning the tide here in the midterms could prove challenging for President Trump, and not just for President Trump. I think you look at maybe the results in Michigan, Abdul al-Sayed winning as a Democratic Socialist, a much more progressive Democrat in a Midwest battleground swing state like Michigan against an establishment Haley Stevens shows that there is a level of frustration out there that is palpable and that both parties are going to have to reckon with before the midterm elections.
Yeah, and the president using very colorful language about the Democratic nominee. Yeah,
He has, and, you know, he put out a statement. Some Republicans have put out statements that kind of celebrated al-Sayed winning. They think that presents a better matchup for Mike Rogers, the former Michigan House member who is running for Senate for a second time. He narrowly lost the Senate race 2 years ago. And, you know, he is viewed by some as kind of a more establishment, more mainstream Republican. That being said, he is campaigning with President Trump. Al-Sayed, a much more far left Democrat than who he beat in Haley Stevens, a member of the House. And so I think Republicans feel good going into the race. I just wonder what this kind of voter enthusiasm gap translates to. One of the reasons that al-Sayed won, one of the reasons that we've seen some of these Democratic Socialists beat incumbents is because right now, at least in the Democratic aisle, that is where the energy is. That is where the enthusiasm is. Can that translate to a general election? That's why this Michigan race is so telling. This is not New York City. This is not Washington, D.C. This is not Denver. This is a statewide battleground. And if somebody like al-Sayed is able to win in a state like Michigan in a general election in November, you better believe that is going to energize the left wing of the Democratic Party in a big way and make for a lot of folks kind of challenging conventional wisdom on where their nominee should come from, what side of the party their nominee should come from in 2028.
Jared Halpern joining us from Fox News Radio, 580 KIDO. Yeah, and, you know, the Republicans say they have more money, but obviously the Democrats, one could argue, have more passion right now, especially in the midterms.
They do. I mean, poll after poll after poll has showed that the Democrats are more energized about the election. And, you know, you talk about the Republican money gap, and I think that's true, but they are spending now, or maybe forced to spend in places they hadn't planned on. Are Democrats going to have to spend a lot of money in Texas? That's not a state that they would have had to plan to spend money on in a Senate race. You have the Attorney General, Kim Paxton, running against James Tallarico. We had a Fox News poll last week that has Tallarico up, but in the margin of error. There have been other polls that show a similar trend. Republicans may have to spend money there. Republicans are going to have to spend money in Maine. Republicans may have to spend money in Alaska. Republicans may have to spend money in Ohio. Republicans may have to spend money in Iowa. Republicans are going to have to spend money in North Carolina. They're going to have to spend money in Georgia. That is a lot of races that are super competitive. That, again, money is one thing, but, I go back to Michigan. Al Sayed was outspent something like 11-1 by Haley Stevens in that primary. Money is important. It gets you on the air. It gets your message out. It helps tell a narrative. But if the enthusiasm gap remains what it is, that's going to be the story of the upcoming midterms.
No, I'm with you on that. Back to North Carolina, I don't know if Roy Cooper can be beat. He's never been beaten before. He's very centrist guy.
He's a strong candidate. He's a strong candidate. He was governor. He is not certainly from the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, so he is viewed as somebody who, a Democrat North Carolinians can get behind. And let's keep in mind, North Carolina is not like a riv-rocked red state. In presidential elections, we have always kind of viewed it as kind of a soft swing state. It was a state that was won by President Obama. President Trump did really well there, but he's not going to be on the ballot. It is an open race. With Tom Tillis not running for re-election, so there's not kind of that incumbency factor. It is a race to watch because, if Democrats can flip that, it makes it that much easier as they try and retake the Senate with Republicans playing defense, again, in some states that they may not necessarily have been planning to play some defense in.
Finally, Maine will be very interesting on how the president handles it and how Senator Collins votes.
Collins is somebody who has been counted out before, is somebody who has always survived, right? She is a known quantity in Maine. She knows how to win in Maine. She has defied expectations in Maine. Again, though, this feels different, just given where the energy is, where the enthusiasm is. I think it is telling that she was quick to come out and say she is not going to vote for Todd Blanche for Attorney General. She's not going to vote to confirm him. She has taken a lot of incoming in that race for supporting other nominees, including Brett Kavanaugh and others who she had initially raised concerns about before ultimately supporting them. She makes decisions as she makes decisions, but that decision to me was notable, again, just given what we've seen in that race, how close that race appears to be.
Jared Halpern, thank you very much, sir. Outstanding work, as always.
Sure thing.
Appreciate Jared Halpern joining us live from the White House. That's right, live from the White House, courtesy of Fox News Radio on 580 KIDO. I mean, that's political insight you're only going to get here. Kevin Miller, 580.
Girl from North Carolina who had her throat slit from the back by an animal because the governor allowed that guy to be free. The governor who's now running for the Senate. That man should not be able to be elected. Vote for Michael Whatley, by the way, is great. The governor allowed that animal, and he cut her from behind, cut her neck like nothing. She was almost dead immediately. And it's on tape. It's on tape, and the thing takes forever to try. Can you imagine? Here it is on tape. They'll probably find a good reason. They get some nice liberal lawyer to say, he was badly abused. He should go free, But think of it. Think of how sick these people are to let a guy like that out, and they shouldn't allow that governor. That was worse than Willie Horton. You remember Willie Horton? This was Willie Horton, modern day. And that governor shouldn't be allowed to run for governor because...
There we have it, President Trump firing on North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper. That'll be a race to watch, and keep it here for complete political coverage with Kevin Miller, Clay and Buck, Sean Hannity, Lars Larson, Glenn Beck, and George Norrie. Let's go to Lucille, who joins us now with Kevin Miller at 580 KIDO. Hello, Lucille.
Good morning, Kevin. I am rather worried about, but not surprised, about this resurgence of communism. Let's call it by the proper name, shall we? So I'm worried because people find the most outlandish reasons for that. Oh, it's because people are, tired of Trump, right? So they want to go back to Biden. Excellent. or because the young people are idealists. No, they are not. They're stupid, they're arrogant, and they are profoundly ignorant, something that we owe our so-called education system. Communism these days is a social fad. Everybody wants to be in the in group. If you hate Trump, you're the in crowd. You know, Trump is the Emmanuel Goldstein. Remember the Emmanuel Goldstein in 1984, the 2 minutes of hate? That's exactly what Trump is to these people. He is Emmanuel Goldstein. You put his image there, and all the Pavlovian dogs get on the hind legs and start barking. That's all there is to it. You scratch a little bit under that, and there is nothing under that surface. And I really get tired and aggravated when I hear all these, justifications and excuses why people are drawn, are attracted to socialism like it was a new fashion. No, it's because they don't know the first thing about socialism. All these people who are so pro-immigrant, why don't they talk to the immigrants who have escaped communism, to the Cubans who came here escaping Fidel Castro? Why don't they talk to them? Oh, no, they don't want to have anything to do with those immigrants. They just want the ones that they can patronize, and they can, make feel better by stroking their backs and say, yes, here, have everything. This newfangled attraction to communism has nothing to do with compassion. How can you say they're compassionate, Kevin? These are the same people who want to put poison in an officer, ICE officer, if he's in hospital. They want to put poison into their IV. These are people who want to kill all conservatives. You call that compassion? It's not compassion. It's vanity, political vanity fair. They feel good about themselves. They feel superior to us conservative rubes. They are in with the in crowd, in with, Nikki Fuentes and all the Hollywood menagerie. And that's all they want, Kevin. It has nothing to do with compassion, with economy, with anything serious. And I love all these Abu el-Sayed because it's very fashionable these days to be in cahoots with Islam. Oh, very fashionable, very, very much. Seen in all the chichi rich establishments. And that's all there is to it, Kevin. And that is why I am so worried. If you bring to me an old-fashioned communist my age that knew what it was and still supports it, okay, but at least he's convinced he knows what he's talking about. But these newfangled people who are so sophisticated, it's all vanity. Vanita omnias vanita. It's all vanity, Kevin. It's all vanity, arrogance, ignorance, and the famous story, the age-old story of the publican and the Pharisee. They are the Pharisees. Oh, I am so superior to all those rubes. Oh, I'm so superior to bad orange man. I am in with the in crowd. I am in with the Islams. Very fashionable these days. And that's all there is to it, Kevin. And that is why it is so very, very dangerous. That's what it's based on. So don't bring me any excuses, any justifications. Yes?
Well, I would agree with you, and they're so ignorant. I mean, how many of these new communists know who the Bolsheviks were and what they did to people?
Right. As I said, why don't they talk to the immigrants who escaped from Cuba, from Russia, from Poland, from all the, communist enclaves? Why don't they talk to them? Oh, no. Oh, good heavens, no. They can't talk to them. Oh, please. Please. Anyway, my bit. So if you want to be on the same level with those knuckleheads, with those Barbies, and vote for Democrats, because you have to try something different. Yeah, like we never tried different, right? We voted for Trump because we tried Biden.
Yeah.
And they want something different. Okay, fine. But
exactly.
I don't know about that. Anyway, my time's up. Anyway,
No. Sorry about that. My dinger's going. Please go ahead. My apologies.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what it is, Kevin. So if people on our side want to be on the same level with these, bubbleheads, airheads, well, what can we do? It's a free country. But don't get angry at me when I say how little I respect for you and when I call you some choice names that are nothing but descriptions, not insults. That's what I have to say for today, Kevin. Thank you for my time. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Lucille. Appreciate you. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Senator Fetterman talking about El Sayed or El Sayed. And I think what we're seeing, and I don't know who started it, but there's a ton of internet tough guys going on right now. You listen to the great Dan Bongino, he likes to swear. Nick Fuentes, he likes to swear. This Hassan Piker, he likes to swear. And then apparently Mr. Syed started going off on the Republicans saying, take my name out of your blanking mouth. Now, I don't know about you, but that's what it's coming down to, is that everybody is a tough guy and we swear and all sorts of things. Think about that for a moment. That everything has become vulgar. We had a Republican senator, what's his name, Moreno from Ohio, dropping the F-bomb in a Senate hearing. Why? What's the purpose of that? To let people know how that you really mean it? I mean, senators should be like role models, right? Senators should basically be saying things without swearing. And yet here we have this going on and on and on. And back to what Lucille said, and our friend Stephen Miller, no relation, talked a little bit more about the chickens coming home to roost.
Spent decades fighting a Cold War with the Soviet Union. Now, I choose my words carefully, but I'm going to say this tonight. Sean, that Cold War has come home. It's here in America. This is the biggest, greatest, most existential struggle this country will ever face, Sean. Because if communists get control of House seats, then Senate seats, and governor's mansions, the American dream that for 250 years our heroes bled and died for is gone. And it won't come back because they will never let you get it back. President Trump is the only thing right now standing between the American people and that abyss.
Do you agree with Stephen Miller? We'll talk about it next. 580-KIDO. You're home for Fox News. Fox News Now. 580-KIDO.
Illegal immigrants, people that didn't respect our laws, borders, and sovereignty, entered the country without permission. Illegally.
I don't accept the premise of that question. There are folks who have documentation, but these are not criminal acts.
Excuse me, if you enter our country illegally, by definition, that is a criminal act.
Sean Hannity today at 1 at 580-KIDO. Whoa. That's a Democratic candidate that's going to be elected to Congress, Chris Rabb. And this is classic Sean Hannity. And many of you probably never had a chance to catch Sean early in his career, where he would bring on the loons and then he would debate them. Now, again, here it's a different style. What he's doing is he's just letting the loon answer questions.
Do you want to abolish ICE?
Absolutely. And dismantle the immigrant concentration camps.
Do you want to defund the Department of War?
We need to radically reduce how much money we're spending with the Pentagon. Absolutely. Our war budget is radically larger than every other country combined.
Do you want to abolish ICE?
They're not hedging their bets here. They're telling you exactly what they're going to do. And as Stephen Miller just said, they start in the House, they get to the Senate, they get to the White House, and before you know it, it isn't Mr. and Mrs. Smith anymore. It's, hello, comrade. Oh, Kevin, you are such a funny little guy. You're such a funny little pro wrestler wannabe. That would never happen in America. Remember, we used to joke about little boys wanting to be little girls, and little girls wanting to be little boys. Welcome to the zany age, if you will.
Do you want to end all deportations?
Do I want to end all deportations? We want to make sure that there's an immigration system that is fair, just, and efficient, and we don't have that system. There was a bipartisan bill in the Senate that was moving towards that, but your president tried to kill that in order to be president again.
Well, he's also your president. You do live in the United States.
It's funny. In the old days, Sean would engage this guy more. But again, as we expose these people at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, no prisons, no ICE, no Department of Defense, no illegals, no. Well, what do you do with the bad guys?
Would you like to abolish prisons and abolish the police?
Well, you know, what's interesting about that statement is long before there was any notion of policing, we had founders that did not even understand that term. Policing is something that's evolved over time. Ultimately, what we want is to have communities that are safe. And 99% of what police do are not going after the bad guys. All of that can be done in different ways.
So you support
by professionals who are trained to do so.
Okay, I'm talking about police that arrest bad people, that commit crimes and commit robberies and rape, the child molesters, the drug dealers, those people, the people that have guns that
protect the innocent. Were there people who did that before the term police existed, though? Let's talk about this in the appropriate context.
You want to go by the definition. Everyone watching this show knows what policing is. You know what policing is, so let's not play word games.
Let's not play word games, pal. Let's not play word games, buddy, bub.
Absolutely do. I'm a state lawmaker who's represented 70,000 people for 10 years. No,
do you want them safe and secure?
What my point is,
you do recognize there are murderers, rapists, child molesters, drug dealers, bad people in this world. Do you want to have people that are hired to arrest them?
We need to keep our communities safe, and there are ways of doing that. Long before the term police ever existed.
Then how, if you don't have police, how would you protect the people in your district?
State troopers?
State troopers, can they be armed in your view?
Hey, listen, I believe in arming oneself. Listen, my people are from the South.
So do I.
All right? So the only way we could protect ourselves was to arm ourselves because we couldn't trust the police because they were largely part of the Klan. So, yes, all of my people were armed.
That is a generalization that is not true. Let me ask you this. Universal.
There we have it. Sean Hannity at his best. Just amazing. Exposing what these people are about. Now you're going, well, Kevin Miller, the socialists are going to, they're going to take care of the economy. It's all about affordability.
The top
10% of Americans pay 50 to 60% of our tax bill. The top 20% pay nearly 100. The bottom 50% of wage earners pay 1 to 2% of the total income tax bill. Now, to me, that's redistribution. How much of every dollar that any American makes should they be allowed to keep without you and your fellow DSA members taking it?
Let's just go back to the Reagan era. How about those tax?
The Reagan era was he dropped the top marginal rate. Okay, well, he dropped the top marginal rate from 70 to 28%. You want 28%? You'd be okay with that?
What I'm saying is there was a time under Democratic and Republican presidencies where the tax rate on the wealthiest Americans was much higher than it is now.
Okay.
And I think we should go back.
You know, and brilliant Sean Hannity showing that he's just not some guy that does the clips and the dips. I love the frame of reference. He specifically knew where Mr. Rab was going. He specifically knew that, and he had the answer. Now, a lot of people are going to go, yeah, man, let's soak the rich. And I'm not a rich guy. Look, man, I'm a commoner. Somebody said, you going to go play golf? I go, if you can play golf, that's great. I'm a commoner. I am. But I'm going back to the marginal rate and everything else. Ask the folks in California. Ask the people in Seattle. The reason why the people with the money have the money is they protect their money. They love their money. And if you're going to say, well, to live in Seattle is going to cost you this, they move to Boise, they move to Nampa, they move to Austin, Texas, Phoenix. If you have the tax rates going up in this country, whether deserved or not, the new Gilded Age, you're going to have people that are going to find a way to create tax loopholes and shelters. It's great for the accountants that do this, not so great for everyone else.
Well, let me help educate you because I know a lot about
multimillionaires like yourself and billionaires
Let me educate
to pay their
you.
fair share. Because I'm old school.
I pay way more than my fair share. Trust me. The bottom 50% of wage earners pay 1 to 2% of the tax bill. But Reagan dropped the top marginal rate from 70 to 28%. It created 20 million new jobs, the longest period of peacetime economic growth in history. If you want to adopt Reaganomics, I don't know. I might consider your candidacy to get rid of this other nonsense that you believe.
He truly is the best at that game. He truly is. Today at 1 on 580 KIDO. Let's go to TPB. Can he handle Hannity? Good morning, TPB.
Good old Mr. Hannity really has a pretty good gig there. Looks like he's getting a little heavy, though. Must be eating a little bit too much of...
well, he explained that. He had some injuries, so he's on the prednisone. He actually did like 20 minutes on that, and he was all worried about his face getting puffy. But yes, and you could tell that I have no life, or I'm just so into 580 KIDO. I remember him discussing that with Linda on the air.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're up to date on everything that's happening. Kevin,
it's all that I have, really.
Should I call you Comrade Kevin?
Go ahead, comrade, yes.
I'm more concerned about the propaganda being put out by our press and social media than I am about the commies taking over. Because if anything, they are the worst enemy we have right now. And I was in a valley this past couple of days and drove down 95, was taken back by the grass fire, which turned the entire countryside around Weiser into a charcoal black and gray. 138,000 plus acres burnt because of a lightning strike. We forget just how vulnerable we are when God decides to show us how powerful he can be. And on the other hand, it is despicable that we have people who care so little about life that they set fires and kill people and destroy hundreds of millions of dollars of property. And as Brian said so adroitly this morning, I wouldn't want to be them when they try to enter the pearly gates. I was thinking about President Trump's pledge to make the data centers develop their own power sources, but I have to ask the question about, does that pledge cover those data centers that were started and built before his edict, or are they exempt? Our governor has been very silent on this matter, and it makes me wonder if he has exempted the Meta Center and what's going to be the Google Center from this requirement. The people of Idaho need to know if these two complexes got approved before Trump's policy and are exempt. We need to ask our illegal immigrant-loving governor if the ratepayers of Idaho Electric are going to have to absorb the cost of the additional electric facilities, or will be required, or the companies that have put up the complex will be required to pay their fair share. One more item. We have recently heard that ICE arrests are continuing here in the Gem State at job sites in the Treasure Valley. But the question has to be asked, is it worth the effort? And there's an awful lot of controversy on this. I wrote about this in the Gem State this past week. The cost benefits fall on different governments. You know, the strongest case for non-reversal is how costly it is to collect all these illegals and in the meantime pay for their schooling and health care. You know, there's a concentrated near-term strain on shelters and hospitals and housing in gateway cities, and we are becoming more and more of a gateway city. They also put a lot of pressure on the lowest skilled native workers here, which doesn't help, especially those in the lowest economic group. And I'd like to say that the government gets the big gain out of this because they pick up all of the federal taxes and the Social Security, and the working age arrivals offset the aging workforce. People forget that we are not replacing ourselves like we used to. We're not having enough babies to replace ourselves, and at some point, immigration is going to be the only way that we will replace the people that are needed to run the factories and harvest the crops. So something to think about. Right now, the only ones benefiting from the illegal workers are the corporations who are raking in billions because they don't have to pay the high wages and they don't have to pay for medical care. So the cost of sending them home is going to be very costly. So we do have to give some thought to a path possibly to work here, even if they are here illegally, or send them home, spend the money to do that, and then start all over with a fresh group of immigrants coming into the state. In any case, you can read the article in GemStatePatriot.com blog. It's an interesting story. I was surprised at what the outcomes could be or will be.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that there are benefits for the overall country financially if some of these immigrants are permitted to stay. But I'm also saying that during that transition period, the costs are going to be borne by the cities and states that have to deal with the illegals that are taking jobs here or in other cities. So there's a benefit to the feds, but it's a cost.
It sounds like you're selling out.
No, I'm not selling out, Kevin.
You and Mike Simpson agree on this.
No,
folks,
Mike Simpson is trying to do something totally different. He's trying to bring back an act that was brought up in 2019 and 3 other times since then, called the Farm Workforce Modernization.
I'm just saying that you're saying you want the illegals to stay, is what you're saying.
I'm telling you, okay, and you don't seem to want to listen as usual.
Oh, I am listening. I am listening right now.
No, you listen to what you want to say.
I'm calling you out right now.
The other day.
I'm calling you out right now.
Yeah, right. You listen about as well as my wife does when I say, honey, could we please turn the air conditioning on?
I don't know what you're saying. I mean, you basically said that you want the illegals to stay. You have accurately described that we hold on. Can I finish my statement that we are subsidizing the businesses that keep them here, which is what we've talked about. Now all of a sudden you're going, oh, there's benefits to the illegals being here.
Yeah, all you're trying to do is to get me pissed off so you can get me aggravated, and I'll argue with you because it's good radio.
No,
listen to me for a change.
I'm listening to you. Told me this. You told me this yesterday in person, and I've been saying this for quite some time. Going, okay, well then my point and Senator Lenny's point and your beloved Theo Woold's point would be they need to go. They're taking jobs. They're costing us money. You say we can't afford for them to leave.
I didn't say we can't afford. I said it'll be costly. I never said we can't afford. You said that. Those are your words. You just love the words in my mouth, don't you?
Tomato, number one. And number two, the bottom line here is you don't know how much they're costing us by being here. Nobody knows because the legislature wouldn't pass legislation allowing us to see the cost of the illegal labor here in Idaho.
I know what they're costing us. Tax-wise, $400+ million a year. It's out there in the budget, my friend. Just take a look.
Not when have you put in what it costs to educate, the medical and everything else?
$400 million is what we spend right now, and it's going up every year.
Yeah, if that were the case, I think it's a lot more than that.
It may be. All we know about is $400 million, but you know how they fudge the budget. The budget's already going to be in a shortfall this coming year. You know that as well as I do.
It's not what I heard.
Well, I don't know who you're listening to, but I hope it's not the governor because he never tells the truth anyway.
Well, you're really going to help us not get invited to the governor's ball again.
You know what? Don't go. Save yourself a lot of money and a lot of aggravation listening to the BS they're going to be perpetrating there.
Well, I'm glad you could wake up and yell at me. I hope that makes you feel better.
Well, I got home in one piece.
Thanks for texting. Thanks for texting me to let me know that you got home safely, that you were supposed to.
Yes, and I gave you the information you asked me to get, correct?
Yes, the secret information. Yes, you did.
Yes. So what have you done for me lately besides beat me up?
It's how I show my affection.
Yes, I noticed that. For 16 years, I've noticed that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Do I get a pension for being on this show after 16 years or no?
Wow.
Kevin, I love you, brother. Show is great. Good people. You have some fantastic people on. And I just have so much fun.
Well, we love you, Tea Party Bob. We appreciate you, sir.
Stay out of trouble and don't talk to the governor. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Thank you, Tea Party Bob. You check him out at the gemstatepatriot.com. You hear that? Don't talk to the governor. Well, the governor would like to talk to us. We'd like to talk to him. We'll listen to anybody. Joining us now is Ron Grant.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
Ron, how are you today?
Good morning, young man. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Not bad. A lot of challenges, a lot of uncertainty, Ron, and a lot of people wondering, is it possible really to keep their money safe?
100% safe, sir. Back in 08 and 09, when the market tanked almost 50%, my clients and I, we got zeros. We didn't lose the principal. We didn't lose the gains. You know what really upsets me is, you're walking up the hill all these years, you're putting money away in a 401k, a traditional retirement plan, and if there's a downturn like there was in 08 and 09, you got to start back down to the bottom of the hill and start your way back up. My clients and I, we don't like that. We just don't lose our money in the first place, and that's important. But the most important thing that I do for myself and I do for my clients is I help provide a lifetime income, your lifetime that you can't outlive. And if you have a spouse, when you pass away, your spouse gets that lifetime income for their life. And when they've passed away, whatever's left goes to the beneficiary. And the 401ks and the IRAs and the stocks and the bonds and the mutual funds can't do that. And that's important, Kevin, especially today. People working 35, 40 years, and they're putting that money away for what? For their retirement, so they can enjoy their golden years. And you know what? That's how I help myself, and that's how I've helped my clients.
Ron, how can people get a hold of you?
Put together a great educational website that can go on 24/7. Articles to read, videos to take a look at from third parties. There's even a book to download from a third party. You can check it out at safermoneyspecialist.com. But, let's have a phone conversation right here in the Treasure Valley about how to protect your lifetime nest egg. Guaranteed income that you can't outlive, zero stock market risk, and legacy protection for you and your family. 208 660-1372 reaches me.
Ron Grant, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate you, buddy. It's going to be hot, so stay cool today.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
More coming up next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO, concerning the battle to save Social Security. With the details, here's James Rosen, courtesy of Newsmax, and you'll hear from Senator Crapo in here as well.
Bob, good to be with you.
My name isn't Bob. Maybe he was thinking of Tea Party Bob.
The Social Security is set to go broke in 2032, smack in the middle of the next presidential administration. And with tempers running high at this morning's hearing, the session carried the faint whiff of the ship officers rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Republicans on the Senate Finance Committee want to have the Social Security Advisory Board develop proposals for how to protect the agency from insolvency if Congress were to take no action before 2032 and the Social Security Trust Fund were to run out at that time as projected. Federal law would automatically impose 24% cuts to benefits. Democrats called the commission idea a smokescreen for slashing benefits and raising the retirement age.
Several Republican members of the panel will say that they have a solution, some sort of unaccountable commission that rubber stamps benefit cuts like increasing the retirement age.
This committee hearing is about setting up a process to listen to proposals about hitting billionaires and millionaires with lots of money or other proposals, however it is, to have something to present to us in this committee in normal order to either reject or accept.
It was back in 1983 under President Reagan that the country last saw major reforms to Social Security, with terms from that law still being phased in today. One expert witness noted that from Social Security's inception under FDR through major legislative actions in 1939, 1950, 56, 72, and 77, reforms were always preceded by advisory bodies, while the country's chief lobby group for seniors opposed the creation of still another.
And the landmark 1983 reform, which brought us 50 years of solvency, was developed and negotiated in part through the Greenspan Commission. When it comes to Social Security, these special processes are the regular order.
The history of special commissions is littered with very good intentions and failed results. They typically lack the clout, the power, and the jurisdiction to do this hard work. Social Security's future belongs at this table before this committee.
If the Social Security Trust Fund goes belly up in 2032 and those automatic benefit cuts of 24% kick in as required by federal law, most estimates suggest the hit suffered by the average retired household would be $500 per month. Bob.
Okay, President Trump in Nevada today.
All right, Bob, thank you very much for that one. So this is a big issue that maybe it will bring both sides together, but whatever political party is involved, whatever political party is involved with this, in other words, that is holding the White House and maybe has both sides of Congress, both houses, it will be devastating. Now, again, that's the problem with socialism, that the socialists sit back and do their own thing, and the socialists go crazy, and they promise spending. But you talk about cutting foreign aid, you talk about everything else, and I've said this before, it's nice to be the world's biggest charity, but for people that did all the right things, put everything in, why in the world would you cut Social Security? We go to Liberal Steve, who joins us now at 580 KIDO.
I just want to say you had a fabulous show today, Mr. Miller, and I want everybody to keep their eyes to the sky and stay fired up. No pun intended. Love you.
Thank you very much. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Back to the Social Security debate. This is going to be, we've kicked the can down the road, and think about it. We have the silent generation. As Tom Brokaw calls them, the greatest generation. Then we've got the baby boomers that economically have carried us for the last 30 or 40 years. The Gen X people in their 50s now, getting ready to, some will retire, some won't. Some can afford to retire, some can't. But that age cohort is not very big compared to the two that are, before them and after them. The millennials actually exceed the boomers as far as population. It is the largest age cohort ever in American history. And then we have the Gen Z people, which is very much akin to Gen X, not the biggest or largest age cohort. But you have, again, these millennials that are going to have to pick up the fuel to fund the Social Security for the boomers that are continuing to live long. We want the boomers to live. We want everybody to live as long as they want, as long as humanly possible. But that comes at a cost. And instead of worrying about this, that, and the other, we need to take care of our own. Do appreciate you all today. I know you have a lot of choices. You made the right one. God bless you. Keep the faith. Kevin Miller loves you.